Okay, I got the red smoke.
Gun runs north to south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke.
Okay, copy. West of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now.
Come on with it, baby. Give it to me. I need it. Get cleared hot.
Copy, cleared hot.
Michael, are you prepared to do a subpar job?
Yes, as per usual.
Awesome.
Michael, are you from Montana? Are you?
Yeah.
He's never left.
Never
That's
left.
not true.
Like actually here in
Like Kalispell or?
Well, I grew up in Butte.
Oh, you're Butte kid.
Yeah.
My daughter's going to the tech right now. She's getting her nursing
nice.
degree.
Okay,
She
cool.
loves Butte. Do you love Butte as much as everybody else who's from Butte
I
loves
do.
Butte?
Yeah, I do like it.
And
It gets a
pork
lot
chop
of
sandwiches.
hate, but yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a real thing? Pork chop sandwiches are real?
Pork chop John's.
I've never been. I pass through Butte. I
yeah.
get gas.
That's what most people
That's how
do.
I used to be.
Here's the deal.
too.
I'm not talking smack on Butte. I'm just saying I have yet to actually have a reason to go explore beyond the freeway gas station.
Yep.
So-
My uncle lived there, and so my mom would send us to Butte during the summer for like a month.
Okay.
And he had his kingdom of 2 trailers. I'm not going to get lost in this, but he would take us to Star Lanes, which is a huge bowling alley, or to Pork Chop John's, and most of the time we're just shooting cats with BB guns outside of his trailer in Butte.
Because that's what you do in Butte.
Yeah, that's what you
Yeah.
do with
Cats.
Butte, man.
How do you know those weren't other people's cats?
I have no
didn't.
idea. No, I didn't know.
You
I
murderous
didn't know.
prick.
Yeah. No, he didn't like cats. He had actually this whole inbred
I don't
herd
like a
of
lot of
dachshunds.
things. That doesn't mean I deploy BB guns against them.
But he did. That's what he did. 2 young kids just like, you're bored throughout the day, go shoot cats.
All right. Where do you gentlemen want to start? I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about the Montana Vet Project. I'm fascinated to know your guys' thoughts eventually, too, as we weave our way through this. Just the state of veteran affairs, and I don't mean the VA, like the bureaucratic. I mean just in general. 20 years of sustained combat, plus people who served before that, people who served after that, the split time in between. Sometimes veterans make the news for all the wrong reasons, and sometimes for great reasons as well. It doesn't seem to be a very equally balanced scale, though. It's an interesting ecosystem. And a lot of people really hesitate to have any level of criticism. And I truly believe that the veteran community, the largest threat to it is veterans themselves. And that also leads us, though, to having to be able to police our own, which can get messy as well. And I don't know. Some people seem to want to take the tact of doing it publicly or on social media. I don't know if that's the way. I think that confuses people a little bit. Direct, I think, is always the best approach, but who am I to tell people how to live their lives? You
Well,
know?
and I mean, even like you just had a recent podcast with 2 veterans that are having a public squabble.
I was able to get one of them on.
Right.
I would have liked for Dan and Sean to sit down and talk. What I would have liked more is direct communication behind the scenes.
Exactly.
I don't know if you guys get asked this, but I have gotten more frequently asked in the recent 6 to 12 months. The most common question I get now is, how do I know who to trust? How do I know that what I see is the truth? How do I know what I'm being told is the truth? And that's a really difficult question to answer, especially when there are plenty of public examples of the opposite of that. And I am also not the arbiter of truth. I don't have like this golden wand where I get to say this person is good or not. I say, do your research. How do you research things you don't know that much about? That'd be like me researching the space shuttle and sending, maybe I do this, maybe I don't, advice to NASA on things that would change, really round the nose off a little bit, buff out this section. Maybe we should paint it pink. It should look like a leopard. Right?
Yeah.
It's tough when you don't know what to research and you don't know the terms, and you can get snowballed a little bit with, quite frankly, the kind of the sexy nature of some of this stuff. It puts people in a weird spot. I feel for them for sure. I don't know your guys' thoughts.
There was a lot that, with your question there, I think there's a lot to dive into with that, but specifically when it comes to truth, because I was listening to the podcast with Dan the other day. And
Kremlinshaw?
Yeah, Linshaw, yeah.
I told him to his face, that's the only thing I'm going to call him. He wasn't really pleased with it.
No, he didn't seem that happy about it, no.
Well, he's like, I don't understand why Chad called me that. And I had to explain to him, this was off air. I'm like, he couldn't remember your name. That was his best approximation.
Right.
And he said, I don't like he
was a
called me
true
a prostitute. I'm like, no. He's calling all of you prostitutes. Did you fall into that bucket? By that description, yes, but don't take that as a personal affront. I think that's where he lands on all people in your line of work. Today's episode is brought to you by Better Wild. If you follow me on any platform, you know I have a dog. I love dogs. My dog's name is Javelin. He is of the most superior breed on planet Earth in the history of humans, and that is a mini dachshund, or a dachshund, depending on where you're from. I love that little guy so much, but he is tiny, and his digestive tract is like this small. He's just a very compact package. Just like humans, dogs need probiotics and good bacteria in their stomach to strengthen their gut health and calm an overactive immune system. And this is why I use the Better Wild allergy relief soft chews. And I'll be honest, when these showed up, I didn't know how Javi was going to react to them. He really likes popcorn and things like cheese, of which I give him only sparing amounts. But some things he will literally turn his little snoot up as. These he devoured. So I was hesitant at first, no issues incorporating these into his diet. They're the first and only chews with Ancestral Advantage Wolf probiotics derived from your dog's mighty ancestors, the wolf, that help restore a healthy balance of good bacteria in the gut. Better Wild is committed to helping your dog with science-backed, veterinarian-approved solutions that you can feel great about. And right now, Better Wild is offering the listeners up to 40% off your order at betterwild.com/clearedhot. That's betterwild.com/clearedhot for up to 40% off your order. betterwild.com/clearedhot. Back to the show.
But when it comes to justice and like you're talking about truth, finding truth,
Yeah.
right? Like we're the Constitution and the idea of our country allowing for justice. How do you go forward and find that if you can't determine truth? Like one of the quickest ways, again, just spending time thinking about where our country is going, which does tie into the veteran population, and I would also say what the veteran population is producing with their heirs, because I think that that's absolutely important for the direction of our country. But if you can't determine truth, right, fundamentally, how does this country continue to move forward? And so then to answer your question, if I'm going to have to rely then on feeling, right? I can't use empirical evidence when it comes to feeling, but if I have to feel my way through what I think is going to be truth, because I'm going to have to source it from 17 different sources that are out there. Each one of those sources is going to have some form of a credibility score. I'm probably going to be the one that has to assign each one of those. Then I'm going to feel my way through it. And if I, again, thinking about this the other day is, if I really want to feel my way through this, then I have to strategize the way in which the group, right, who is up there, out there, 1%, if you want to go that far and be crazy with that, I guess, the belief that they exist. Strategically,
You
what
talk
would
about the Illuminati?
I'm trying not to, but sometimes you can't
What do they
help
call
but
it,
get
though?
behind
It's
that door.
what's the word, the common word that, of course, I can't remember that everybody associates
The
with
top
it?
1%.
The deep state. The
Deep state.
Deep state.
Deep state.
Which, I've said this many times, but I do believe. I don't think it's a bunch of people meeting in Monaco when they park their yachts in a semicircle,
Agreed.
gingerly
Agreed.
touch tips. I think it's of the hot steam. You guys get out of the gutter, all right?
Sometimes forcibly touch
Yeah.
tips too, right?
You never know what the
Whatever
tide,
you're
what
into.
the tide's going to do.
Yeah.
But I do think that people who achieve positions of status, wealth, influence, and power want to maintain those things.
Don't want to give it up.
And I think the deep state is people who are probably entrenched, specifically looking at our own system, who are in very heavily weighted positions who want to maintain that position. That doesn't surprise me at all. I don't think it's as coordinated as people believe it to be, though. And I only say that because, I mean, I've interfaced with the government a little bit.
Sure.
They're not
hard to-
that coordinated
right, yep.
or fancy.
Yep.
And fair point. I agree with everything that you're saying. And to be honest with myself, I can't say that I wouldn't do the same thing if I were them and I came from generations of power and wealth and wanted to continue holding on to it. So again, then I'm going to look at how I would do it if I were in their shoes. Then I'm going to take that based on the 17 different groups that are providing me with information and play chess as to what I feel is the most likely outcome or reason for something happening, which really sucks because that's not a very good way forward. If we're just going based off of my gut hunch, like a 1980s detective, Stallone Cobra detective movie, right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel it in my gut that this is it.
I mean,
just
I
don't
can
know
only
the answer.
imagine that flying around the world on like a G800 with enough money where you don't care about everything and you got all the houses and all the places and power and business. I mean, don't get me wrong. More money seems to bring more problems, and people with a lot of money are not absent of problems. But yeah, that probably seems like it would be awesome. And I would suspect that those people, and not everybody who is at that level got there in a malicious manner, but you would probably do everything you could to protect what you have and maintain that status quo. I get that. It's hard to say, especially for somebody who, for me, I wouldn't want that. But B, I also don't think I have the imagination to really fathom what that would be like. How can you really say how it would impact you as a person? Like, I think I know myself well, and I do want to be able to sleep at night more than be able to fly around the world privately. So I would like to believe that I at least have some level of not, impermanence to that, but that I would try pretty hard. Right.
Your eyes got really wide there. Morality.
Morality does
exist. Keeping
in you,
morality
right?
through all of it. Because it might have been from a movie or something where it's just like money and power just magnify who you really are, right?
Yep.
It could have been like an Avengers movie or something that said that. But like, the more power and more money you get, it just magnifies the real root of who you are. So if you're an evil person and you're going to do anything to keep whatever you have, then you're just going to do that more and more the more rich you get. But if you're a moral person seeking truth, and hopefully that's what you continue to do, and the money and power doesn't change you.
That would be the hope. Having never
just like, just test me, give me a couple billion and see what happens. I want to know.
Does a billionaire need me to test this theory? I would need I don't even need that much. $250 million. We'll see how I do. 1 year test.
I believe in myself.
Just 1 year.
I think, but the problem with that is like, give me my billions. Let me try this for sure. And I've always done this as kind of like a thought experiment, like how can you ensure though that your grandchildren are going to hold to your standards of morality, beliefs, ethics, 7 generations from you? You know what I mean? I think that you can. Personally, I think that it takes a very, like the Agoge, like the Spartans.
But you'll be gone 7 generations.
Exactly. So it's got to be
3.5 generations in. They're going to have to handle that, and by that point, you're a dusty picture.
Fair enough.
Over the mantle.
Fair enough. Exactly. So they're like, and maybe I'm reaching for the stars here, but again, if I have that, it's building a house. Like we've talked about this before. Like if I'm going to build a house and I'm going to have the generations that come beyond me, and I want to make sure that they adhere to the standards that I've set for myself for themselves, they have to buy into it. I have to get them to believe. And generally, a lot of that has to do with doing the right thing and good things, and then empirically being able to prove that actually by doing good things for other people, you actually feel better yourself. And if just, again, strategically, if I do something good for you, it makes me feel better, right? I'm increasing, you're increasing. If I can get you to then believe that if you help another person, and essentially we all out-bless one another, which is kind of a Buddhist monk, is my understanding, that in the temples for the monks, that the only thing that they're allowed to compete at is blessing one another, right? Right?
It's a toxic level of blessing occurring in there.
What kind of blessing are we pulling off here? But it is something that's interesting to consider, is that if I literally give you my energy, right, so that you can be better, we all float, we all get better, everybody rises. I think we can find it.
Trust me, I like that headspace. That's definitely a glass half full approach.
Yes.
And I think if you had to choose between, and this is also a false choice, between glass half full and glass half empty, because glasses are refillable, so we don't really need to worry about the volume that's currently in them. Everybody forgets that part. But if you only had the binary choice of half full or half empty, of course I would rather people live their life with the half full approach, because the other one, I can't think of a faster way to rob yourself of joy or satisfaction or even a sense of accomplishment.
Well, and you had made mention earlier of the veteran population in the last 20 years and the direction that maybe it's going. And
I don't know which way it's going, for clarity. I'm just curious. You guys are actually probably more connected with the veteran population than I am, because you have a program dedicated to work with them. Like I still know people from my previous life, but I'm not actively out there participating in a program or with a group like yours. So you might actually have a better take on it than I do.
Yeah, I guess more or less with the glass half full, glass half empty, is being able to because glass half empty to me is victim mentality, right? Where things happen, bad things happen to me, and so I kind of identify with those. It does seem like to me that that you do see that predominantly in the veteran community, and I think that is a byproduct of a lot of veterans being told that they're the victim, especially when you go and speak to a counselor. I think that counseling over the past couple decades, and Jordan Peterson speaks about this pretty frequently, actually. So this isn't just my opinion, but there is a tendency to believe that you need somebody else to fix your problems. At MVP, one of the things that we focus on and that we see positive results from is showing the capacity that you are the thing that can overcome whatever obstacle is in front of you, right? Reminding veterans that they are powerful and that they can take it on versus, again, glass half full versus half empty. So that's one thing that I have noticed and has kind of been the honestly the reason for standing MVP up.
Do you think that they're using the victim mentality thought, that there is a potential motivation behind that because there is financial reward and incentive? There are 40,000 service-based organizations, the last time I looked at this, and it's been a while, around veterans, which, by the way, I think is amazing. And there'll be a bell curve, right? Some that are great and some that are not great. Some that are probably doing a ton, some that probably are using it as a pass-through or a shield for taxes. Whatever, that can sort itself out. But if there is an incentive to fall in line with the broken toy narrative, and I'm not saying that there is, I'm just pitching this out there because I don't know the answer to this, whether it is a VA rating system, applying for programs, grants, benefits, if those things are based on how damaged you are we misaligning incentives for those who maybe wouldn't necessarily go down that path absent that motivation?
And an easier way to say that is if you're 90% disabled, but you don't struggle with PTSD on a daily basis and you want to get to 100%, it's better to say that I struggle with PTSD on a daily basis so you can get to 100%.
Tinnitus.
Right? Tinnitus, yeah. They only give you 10%
Get in that booth and smash those buttons. This is not medical advice, anybody. And only vets will understand that booth. The number of times I've sat there and talked myself into, I'm like, I thought I heard the button or the beep.
My tinnitus is so loud that, like, I can't hear many of them, but it's on a timer, right?
Yeah.
And so you can.
And of course, you're going to game it. You're like, right about now.
Yep.
Your brain, though. I mean, I remember the first one I did before even being in the military, being like, "Is that it? Yeah."
Yeah. No, you sit. I don't know if it's a hearing test or an insanity test.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
what are you doing both? Because the person observing that. Because you literally, I don't know how to describe this other than you are in basically a vacuum booth that is so quiet with. What would you say the headphones are from? The 1700s? They're not cutting edge Bose, noise canceling.
Nope.
They've got like a rubber clamp on your head and you're sitting there with your trigger.
It's pretty tight too, if
It
I
is
remember.
tight.
Kind of like tight.
And sometimes it's not even.
And shit.
I feel like it's not even that quiet sometimes with busy hallways nearby, and it starts off with like a pretty good beep. Like if I'm remembering this correctly, it started off loud and then it works its way down.
Yep.
And that's where you start talking yourself into hearing things.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you start tapping
and that's
your foot
where
to the beat.
Yeah, that's where I wonder if it's an insanity test or a hearing test or both.
And then it changes the tone and pitch too, as it's coming back up and going back down, and you're just like, I think. Have you ever done the next test?
No.
So when you start getting hearing aids, they give you another test where I have to look to confirm what I'm hearing is what you're saying, right?
Okay.
But it's just a recording of somebody that says, "Say a ball."
Oh.
And you have to repeat the last word of the sentence, and it says, "Say a bat, say a cat, say a hat," and like it's doing so. C's,
and you're
T's,
just listening
B's,
to this
C's,
blind.
and you're just listening, and then you're talking to a person that you just met, and you're going, "Hat, bat." I need to repeat. Can you repeat that one?
Same thing. Are you in those ridiculous?
Same thing. Yep, the same headphones, and you're just trying to guess, and you're like, "There's no way they said penis." There's no way that that's in this test, but that's what I heard. That's what I heard, and you're trying to like just guess what it is.
Why do I keep hearing cock?
And it's pretty hard because I can't read lips, and T's and B's and C's and all that stuff can kind of sound the same.
Well, if it's audio only, yeah. I was in that booth one time. I was still pushing the button and the man opened the door. He was like, hey, it's done. I was like, oh. And I mean, like, I have a little bit of ringing in my ears, but I think I had just talked myself into that rabbit hole. The guy was like, dude, you can go.
just leave.
Test
just leave.
I'm
going to have to replace the trigger on that
An even
now.
better test would be, how long would somebody stay in there? An open-ended here. I mean, I feel like some guys would be in there for 60 minutes.
Do you have AirPods?
Yeah.
You can do the test now.
Really?
With an iPhone, you can do a hearing test. So I put mine in sometimes instead of my hearing aids, and it'll help me hear.
Oh, it does work as a hearing aid now.
It'll amplify it. It's not the same as an expensive hearing aid.
Well, it's because it has to transmit it to China, so before it gets its way.
Right.
I don't know about all that
but
stuff.
you can do that. You can do that same test, and you just touch the phone when it's beeping, and it's exactly the same.
I could see a guy standing in that booth for an hour, full athletic sweat, like needing electrolytes and some downtime after that, with it not even going, and just at a 10 for no reason.
And it depends on how bad he needs that score based on the disability rating that he's wanting to get. I would argue he could be there for 96 hours, depending on how bad he
close
wants
to death.
it.
I could see people taking it close to death.
Just taking it, you know what I mean? Yeah.
No, it's I don't want anybody to be disqualified from anything that they are deserving of. That is the last thing that I want. But I also don't want people to game the system. And it's a really fine balance.
It is.
Especially with some of these things. How do any of us know what's going on between somebody's ears? I don't. Mm-hmm. And I don't even try to.
We've had this talk a couple times over the last 2 days of people from the outside thinking that they understand who somebody is. Just from observation, even somebody close to you, like an aunt or an uncle or something, trying to gauge what's going on in your life with your family. And it's not a fair assumption. Luke and I are pretty close friends. I still can't gauge how he should feel about something or how his marriage is going or anything like that, because it's his own, he's the main character of his movie.
Take it a step farther than that. Have either of you ever done something and surprised yourself and then had to have a moment of like, why did I do that? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not even an expert. I mean, I'm pretty good at knowing myself, but I'm not even perfect when it comes to understanding myself. Mm-hmm. I'm going to somehow become a radar. I did clarify, Dan and I were arguing about radar versus sonar. Bats use echolocation, which is a portion of radar. Unfortunately, he was a little bit correct about only that in the episode. Everything else was untruthful, and I won the honesty.
Agreed.
That's an important measure to win.
Yeah. Echolocation. So what are you going to do? You're gonna try to project that on somebody else and be an expert on them when I don't know anybody who's even an expert on themselves. I mean, come on, what are we doing here?
Well, and you can even take that a step further. I mean, I don't want to pick on Dan at all, but he can be a good human and have done something wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he can still be somebody you can rely on.
Both those things can be very true.
They can be so true, but oftentimes because we get so divided and you're either red or blue, you guys talked about a lot on that podcast, you have to be on one team or the other. We paint people that way too. I used to be in ministry. I was a pastor for a little while after the military. And one of the pastors that was my boss, he used to say, "These brownies are great. You like them, right?" And, "Yep." "Well, I just put a little bit of poop in there, so it's okay." And that meaning, his analogy meaning that once a person has sin, that whole batch of brownies is ruined. You wouldn't eat a batch of brownies with a little bit of poo in them. I probably have. And
would it be put in the mix or afterwards? Because I feel like you can roll
in the mix. It
is it cut anywhere, up into 100
right,
squares?
Exactly.
I got a 1 in 100 chance.
Which one? Right. No, it's in the mix, and it could be. There's a little fecal matter in every brownie, and that's what he's trying to say. And I don't agree with that statement, because I think that you could, just like you said, you can make these decisions and kind of surprise yourself that that's a decision you made in the moment. Yeah. But that doesn't make you a horrible person.
I agree.
It makes you somebody that made a bad decision in a moment.
Human.
Yeah, exactly. And humans can't be a batch of brownies. We're not. Like, we're humans.
It's amazing how little gray, and I struggle with this too. And I was probably not great at this when I was younger, but being able to provide that grace for people, because I'm the one who needs it more than anybody else. And I mean, now that I'm older, I recognize that in myself, but the ability to just, Maybe I didn't catch them on their best moment, but I bet they have really good moments. And for everybody but pedophiles, I'm willing to do that, I think.
Grace goes a long ways just for yourself too, right?
Yeah.
Like being able to forgive yourself is a talent that takes time to develop that and kind of get off your own case, right? I do. So going back to the disability and veterans looking for that, right? And so,
and it doesn't have to necessarily be disability rating. I mean, just go on the internet and look for things that are available for veterans. And I haven't done this, but I bet that over 50% of the things that are available are likely for combat wounded veterans.
Yeah.
And I am not saying that negatively, but if a pie cuts more in one direction than the other, it should surprise nobody that there are more of those types of applications or people pursuing that than another. I think that's just human nature.
right. Well, and because I've thought about this quite a bit too, because it seems that then you end up having, like, for example, to get 100% disability, right? And if I go for PTSD, that's one way that it's hard to tell what's going on between your ears, because I can't figure out what's going on between my ears, right? And so if you say the right things on this test, right, then I can say, boom, 100% for you. Now, the reality is that you were, in the Air Force and didn't ever see combat. And so then do you really rate 100% for PTSD? Well, who the hell am I to say? Because I don't know actually what causes you to, deal with post-traumatic stress symptoms past the event that you experienced that messed you up. Yeah. So it's kind of hard for us, like you're saying, to be able to measure who's got what, X, Y, and Z. So I just wondered if maybe, in just this big picture, trying to solve everything and being a dreamer, I guess, but if we were to just come up with categories that everybody who does serve in the military just rates a disability. Like, so if you did so much time and you were in this MOS, grouping, you would rate so much money, Class A, Class B, Class C. And then generally it seems like, to me, in my experience, combat MOS's motor T I would put into this group as well a lot. Experience quite a bit of, I'm not a big fan of the word trauma, but experience heavy shit. And
it's
so
a clinical term.
Clinical, yep.
Yeah.
It just kind of got hijacked, and so it's like kind of like therapy. It gets used for everything.
My daughter will say there's too much trauma from your drama. So yes, it's been hijacked.
Right.
I don't actually know. Michael, I would need to lean on your generation for this. What is an appropriate response to somebody saying there's too much trauma from your drama? And by the way, that was based on a request to put a dish in the dishwasher. Just for clarity. So with that information in mind, what do I do with this?
That's too new even for me to decipher.
Is there any vernacular that I could throw back in her direction?
6'7", 6'7".
I feel like she's actually too old for that. I have a nephew who's 8, and he was all about that. It was everything from yes, no to go F yourself. I mean, everything. Nothing. So I just have to eat this one? She got me?
You kind of have to. I'm at a loss as well on this one.
I'm going to lean towards Slay Queen.
But I don't know if that's the right response to that one. I sat there, I think, with my jaw partially on the floor. She did go put it in the dishwasher and then just vaporized into her room. I'm like, man, usually I do better than this.
So she just silenced you, did what she needed to do, and then just disappeared to her room. And so she kind of won. Based
off what you're saying, the word being hijacked, I'm sitting there, I'm like, there's too much trauma for your drama? Like, what just happened?
How do I interpret this? God damn it. I don't even know what the kids mean anymore.
Go watch TikTok again or whatever. It's tough to keep up with.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's a clinical term, and people, maybe they hear it too much, but it is what it is, right? And, and trauma is, I mean, it could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be psychological, it could be all three of those things. I mean, I don't know on the brain, what's the difference in trauma between an IED blast or getting into a really bad car wreck that you're not at fault with here I don't know. I don't know how that scrambles your eggs or the geometry of what goes on between your ears.
And how long it is going to have lasting effects on your psyche, right? Like, fair enough.
And each person, if you could somehow manifest the same exact combat scenario or the same exact car accident or sexual trauma or, verbal abuse or whatever it may be. Yeah. But if you could take two people that are at 17 years old or whatever, right, and put them through that same exact trauma, it's going to, each one of them, because of their life experiences leading up to that, are going to handle it differently when they come out the other end. And so one of them may be okay because that's how they decided to handle that, and that's what their life upbringing brought them to. And one person may be traumatized for the next few years without talking with someone, can't get through it. And so that's why it's hard to put a ranking system on your PTSD versus yours.
I tell you what, though, this is what leads me back to I like the idea of the agoge, and I don't mean children beating each other to death almost like in the Spartan times. I mean a place where you intentionally go and do hard things, because I do think the hyper-realistic training that the community I came from participated in, the vast number of reps, scenario-based training, integrating a variety of different things from room clearance right to a medical problem, right to like a key leader, and working through all that stuff. I'm not going to say it makes you immune from anything, but it helps you kind of deal with that stuff. I can think back. I haven't thought about this in years. We were out in the Nabahar province in 2010. It was the last deployment that I did. And when we first got there, we were co-located with the Afghan National Army and the Afghan National Police, which is the subject matter of a movie in and of itself. Man, they are an interesting group. So we shortly after that made a fob. And, the locals didn't seem to mind us that much. The people who were a little bit outside of the locals had an issue. And so I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this. Instead of putting up mortar tubes, they would just put artillery shells on the ground, and they would basically just prop them up with a fuse, light them off, and very inaccurate, but we would get shelled, not incredibly often. But I remember one time it was probably more accurate than the more recent experiences. And you guys know the deal. It's like, okay, if there is an indirect attack, we might be looking for something. They're trying to keep our head down, want to get to high ground position to make sure we're not going to get bum rushed on the ground. So I'm like, okay, head up there. That's what we're starting to do. It is not fun. It is actually one of my least favorite things to be on the receiving end of indirect fire. I absolutely hate it because you have no idea what's happening, where it's going to land, and no control whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So, and I remember in this one, I was wearing shorts and I think flip-flops because I had been sleeping. At best, it was a shorts, T-shirt, and running shoes type of day with armor on and just ready to go.
This day's going great.
Yeah. And it finishes up. It didn't last that long. And I don't want to overplay this. It wasn't some amazing war story by any stretch. But you can forget all of the training and experience you bring with you, because we had support staff that was with us. And one of the main things people may not understand when you're in a remote area like that, your lifeline is your radios. And I am not a tech guy, but we have people who are legitimately there. In your guys' world, probably MOS. In our world, it was an NEC. That's what they call the job classification. And these guys were amazing. I mean, they're handling the crypto, right, the generator, making sure the radio is on the right frequencies, the antennas are the right direction, the bearing and azimuth, all of that stuff. And we had a little HESCO shelter. And I can't remember his name, but I remember the guy specifically. I'm like, we'll call him Bob. I went into the talk. I'm like, where is Bob? He was out in the HESCOs smoking a cigarette, shaking. And he had been out there, I think, for over an hour.
Like stuck?
Yeah.
Yeah. That happens. Yeah.
It fried him. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, okay, that wasn't that much fun at all. There was actually zero fun involved in that. And it wasn't without its fear and scary moments. But that has passed. And it was one of those moments where like, okay, we're not all playing with the same deck of cards when it comes to our ability to tolerate this stuff. He ended up getting, not medevac, but he got moved over to a larger base and then out of country out of that. It was too much. And then I realized he didn't have the same training. He didn't have the same reps. He didn't have any real way also to fight back. I don't think he had any mechanism or ability to do anything about it. So he was just on the receiving end of this unknown, which is what sucks the most about IDF. So,
well, and we actually end up talking about this on some of our trips as well, because anybody that has a DD-214 can come with us and experience what we go through.
Does it have to be a real one?
Yes,
we try to
preferably, yeah. We
live in a Photoshop area.
We do.
I can get you several DD-214s.
That is something we're going to have to solve.
Yeah,
fair
You're going to have to deploy AI against AI. I've determined that's the only way through this.
Well, and we're trying to go through like IDMe or GovX or something like that to work on verification, because it is a real problem, unfortunately, that people might not be super honest. But that becomes a problem that some people that suffer from PTSD aren't in a combat MOS, but they spent time in a FOB, and they just got shelled all the time. You know, I think about some of the mechanics that never left. They don't know what the outside of the fob looks like besides on the one drive-in they did.
Yeah, but they know what fear feels like.
Exactly. And we got shelled a bunch when we were in Tikrit. We got hit all the time, but I got to be on QRF, or I got to be on guard on the, you know, and I got to see and hear about the reports of, oh yeah, it was just in the back of a truck and they had a mortar tube and they shot and they got lucky this time and that's why it came close. Yeah. But those guys didn't even get to hear those reports. They didn't even know, are we getting shelled again tomorrow? And that seems like it would be harder. And so I'm glad you brought that up.
I think it is harder.
Because he had a really difficult time because you got to go to a high point and see what was going on. He has to wait and manage the radios.
I've talked to a few psychiatrists about this, or psychologists. They call it the locus of control. The vast majority of time when we were overseas or when we encountered violence, it was of our choosing. So we were in control of that. That has, and I'm not going to say this is like a very high degree of certainty or understanding of how this happens. I would leave that to the professionals. But it impacts the residual effects of those things. So if you're on the other side of that, like the people we're talking about, some of the most shattered people that I've seen from a distance. So I am making a snap judgment about the people I'm about to talk about. I didn't speak with them, but they looked as if they were hopeless. And I don't say that in a negative way because there's not enough money in the world for me to do their job. They were the minesweepers on Route 1 in Afghanistan. And this was in a time where they're burying 1,500 pounds of homemade explosives and flipping MRAPs hundreds of feet into the air. And these people are just getting into the back of vehicles with no ability to do anything other than sit there and wait and wonder. So the opposite of the locus of control, that has to fry your eggs. How could that not? But that, I mean, and again, it goes to the person who had no choice versus the person that does have choice. I'm not saying that there's not trauma associated with that and potential negative implications, but I think it's hugely weighted for the person who is choosing to initiate violence or exposure to violence, probably your ability to deal with it.
Well, and you've gotten quite a bit of training, obviously. One of the things so your story about Bob, one of the things that, and I don't know, I think that this comes from the training and the exposure to stressful situations, is still being able to find a goal, right? Like for him, he's on the roof, he's having a cigarette, he's fried, he doesn't know what to do.
In the bunker.
Or in the bunker, sorry.
He was not on the roof.
I think you might be wrong there. I don't think he was on the roof.
He's in the bunker and he's fried, right? And at that moment, I'm assuming he's combat ineffective. He's not doing much for the team. Probably isn't getting the radio up.
Yep.
Probably isn't able to fix the radio if it gets hit, comms or kind of down, whatever it may be in that situation. But it seems like, to me, being able to build into and help folks understand that step one to get out of that, right, is breathe. Like, let's engage our prefrontal cortex. You got to breathe, right? Cigarettes will help, right? Just because.
I don't think that's what he was going for, but I get what you're saying.
But you know what I'm saying? But like, we got to breathe, dude. We got to re-engage our brain, and then we got to find step one. What is step one? What is a goal? I need you to find a goal, even for the folks that are out doing the IED sweeps. And I do remember that era when it was go find IEDs by stepping on them. I remember that I was over right before Fallujah, we were running around in Humvees that had, they didn't even have the high backs yet. We just had the fiberglass rails, and we didn't have any type of flooring. We had
flat bottoms.
Well, they weren't like flat bottoms, but they had the rails that would in the fold up seating in the back. Is that what we call them?
Well, I think the overmatch on a Humvee with a flat bottom or a non-V'd hull is about 1.5 pounds of explosives because it's so flat.
Right. So
I mean,
so we were running around, and you got sandbags, like that's what's protecting us from the blast from underneath. And at that time, now IEDs start picking up, because I wasn't there for the initial evasion, but I think it was OIF 3 that I was there, if I remember correctly. And so IEDs had started picking up, and so then it was kind of trying to figure out what was the detonator, if it was victim initiated or if it was something that they could set off with a cell phone. But I do remember getting tasked with just like, all right, team, you're going that way. You guys are all sweeping. We didn't have any type of metal detectors at the time, and it was just like, okay.
What are you supposed to shuffle your feet like it's a stingray?
You're just kind of looking for anything that seems out of place.
Which is everything, by the way.
Is just trash. everywhere.
And dead dogs and random clothes and little bags of whatever. And all of those at one point had an IED in them.
You could take me to a pristine beach along the Pacific Ocean. And if you told me that there was nothing there that was going to hurt me, I'm like, oh, this is amazing. If you told me there was an IED buried somewhere, every ripple in the sand looks very suspect to me at this point.
Yep.
It's like, what? Go look for something? Come on.
Yeah. And so, but I mean, like literally even in that, you're like, okay, well, what the fuck? What's my goal? What's my next thing that I can do? The next step. Nothing. Okay, next step. Nothing. Boom. Oh, shit.
People would not want to believe that is actually how some military operations went down. They don't want to believe that.
Well, and as the battlefield is adapting to what the enemy is doing, you don't have a choice but to be out and doing things of that nature. And that's just how it was early on when we were in Iraq. And I never made it to Afghanistan, but
it was like Iraq, but with mountains.
Yes, I've heard it's pretty similar.
I prefer Iraq. I didn't
bigger,
have to go
the
to
bigger
Afghanistan
cities,
either.
a lot of similarities. The Hindu Kush, honestly, some of the most beautiful terrain I've ever seen.
I've heard that.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the Himalayas range. I mean, it looks amazing. Slightly less amazing with plunging PKM fire coming at you out of an elevated position, but still, you can appreciate the moment.
At least there's nice scenery, a
Maybe
nice
the
background.
sun is setting over the elevated. I don't know. It's fine. Be a glass half full.
It could be worse.
This could be worse, I guess. How did you two link up?
Okay. So Bryon came with us on a trip in 2000, or what was that, 2021?
It was 21 or 22.
22.
Yeah, this will be my fourth year with MVP.
Yep.
So
you were a participant
22.
in?
I was a participant. Yeah,
Okay.
You're familiar with North 40? It's like the Murdochs, but they have a non-compete. So any town that has a Murdochs doesn't have a North 40, but Great Falls has two of them. And so it's
Two Murdochs or two North 40s?
Two North 40s.
Are you serious with this? You guys can't have a Murdochs?
Nope. They have a non-compete.
We have two here if you guys need to stop and get anything along the way.
Murdochs.
Yes.
Yep. And we have North 40.
Bring some Murdoch swag back to G Falls.
Right. But that was not even needed in this conversation. But she works there, and one of the founders also works at North 40, and he convinced her to convince me to go on a trip. And
how did they know to talk to you?
She's pretty open about me being a veteran. Mm-hmm. I don't know if she wears a shirt that says my husband's a veteran or whatever, but
why did she want you to go? Is what I'm saying.
Well, this particular individual is very obviously a combat Marine. You know what I'm saying? You can spot him, and so she's like, "You're a veteran."
What do you mean?
Not the best socialist. Like socializing with civilian personnel becomes difficult and frustrating for him very quickly.
So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
Obviously, the what do you mean is tongue-in-cheek. Do you think that people who struggle with that post-military had that issue before?
Yes.
Because I think it's very easy to associate many of these things like, oh, the Marine Corps did this to him. Like some of the most social people I know are ex-Marines. That's what I'm saying. I think there's a lot of, it's an interesting gap. When you go into the military, it is almost as if any bizarre things you may have brought with you, a suitcase full of your own personal luggage, it's as if it's left at the door. And then you get out of the military and everything is associated to that short time period that you were in the military. It's like, yeah, I think crazy is just crazy before. Mm-hmm. And so then you can do stuff outside of that, but you might actually, on your ramp down out of the military, that luggage compartment might be sitting there. You know what I mean? Yep. Here's your rucksack, buddy. Throw that sucker back on.
Well, and I mean, we even kind of talked about it too with ratings and different things like that. Like some people just want to fall under a certain label and allow those excuses in their life and not try to fix it. And I'm not saying that's true for him. Do
you talk to this guy often?
Yep.
All the time, yeah.
Does it serve him well to be that way?
Go ahead, Luke.
Well, I ask because there's two different types largely. Those that are aware that they're doing it and those that are not.
I think there's certain levels of it he is aware and there's certain levels he's not. Okay. And I think most of the time with this gentleman, he is trying to do the most expedited form of let's stock these shelves with Yetis, but he treats that the same as let's clear this road of IEDs. So like, let's get it done, let's do it. And that doesn't come off very polite. And so I think, but the job still gets done as fast as he wants. He just might have made some people mad while doing it.
Can I add something to it too? Having served with the guy and got to be an instructor with him.
Oh, you know this person well.
Very well, yeah.
Okay.
Very well.
Like Bryon was saying, he's one of the founding members for the Montana Vet Program.
Yeah. Did you start it for him?
Was he in mind? No. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we're all psychos.
Okay, my buddy needs help
a little
here.
bit. We all need some help.
My buddy needs help here. So what I need to do is a very obscure idea that will take years and will work its way back to this individual.
I've got a plan here.
It's called
this
the long
work
game.
its way out to save your life. But in the Marine Corps, an exceptional operator, thinker, capable of doing tons of military style, needs, work, whatever it may be.
Task-oriented, and they're short-term tasks.
Yeah,
generally.
and feelings aren't involved because you just do what I say, and the task is this. Goal is this. Let's go get it done. We work together for the most part.
Don't say feelingless. I've seen Marines cry.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, but you're looking at one, bro. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, fair enough.
You guys have feelings. You hide them under amazing Class A's, but I've seen it.
Yeah, fair enough. And you just bury that shit way, way deep down under the JD, right? But and so exceptional guy, but when it comes to like working with civilians, I would say yes, there is sometimes frustrations for him when dealing with folks that don't just take orders. And so, but to your point, I would say that a lot of times I think, especially when it comes to disability related to psychological issues, the majority of that shit you're bringing in. Yeah. One thing that you could reconsider is the testing that we do prior to letting folks into the military. A lot of times, and you might have seen this, it sounds like Bob could have fallen into this category. Maybe he should have never been there in the first place. Now, how do you get more folks to come into the military when we're having issues getting folks in the military and then trying to get the most qualified based on some psychological test that maybe we have, maybe we don't? I don't know.
I have an idea how we immediately solve our recruiting crisis. Over 10 years in, you never pay tax again.
I think I've heard you say that before.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Yeah. I think it would allow you to raise the standards on a lot of things. When I went in, I believe it was the ASVAB and an old man telling a group of 20 people to drop their drawers as he was like, ka, 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 ka. And this was
the duck walk.
Yeah. I need to probably clarify this hand signal. This is not like an insertion check that came later with the bare knuckle boxer who was the dive medical officer. This was like the undercarriage cough, cough, cough. But this guy... could have worked for Barnum and Bailey.
There was observation. There was observation from behind as well.
I saw there.
Did you get that as well? That after this, there was turn around and bend over, and it was just like to look at the brown eye. I don't know if it was just an old perverted guy that was at the Butte.
I don't remember that, but this was 30 years ago in the rearview mirror. It could have happened. It was such a bizarre experience.
And it was just, I need to look at it. And I'm like, I don't know what you're looking for.
Like, take a picture of the back.
I just remember doing the duck walk and just feeling awkward.
Well, right now, I'm sure we were all in towards the tail end. They started having, wavering stuff started coming back in. Mm-hmm. Whether, I think when I joined tattoos, they were looking at really heavily. So the waiver for tattoos, that just was kind of like the lexicon of the day shifted. So they started letting people in. Obviously, probably going to have issues if you have a full face tattoo. They're not going to let you in. But then like felony waivers, moral waivers, or morality waiver, I forget exactly what they called it. Yeah, it's. I think if you incentivize it properly, you could probably have a set of robust standards that nets the person who is the most well-tuned for the job. Yeah. Not the person who, and this isn't everybody, but it's some people, they look at the military as a measure of last resort. I would prefer that we figure out a way to make it a measure of first choice.
Agreed.
And I'm not a mathematician, nor do I understand the impact that not having people pay taxes after 10 years would make, but it's not that many people. 0.05% of people right now of our citizens are serving in the military. I think we'd be okay. So let's not pretend like the DOD's ever passed an audit, so I think we're going to...
nobody's passing those.
People are going to nickel and dime this. I'm like, well, how far do you want to go? Because the DOD doesn't do so well on our audits.
We got to get a budget passed anyway, so who are they to
Think
question?
about that, though. That would change people's idea of that.
I agree with that, and And I think to the idea of you do 10 years, again, don't pay taxes again, and then you get a disability rating or a compensation, whatever you want to call it.
You do another 10, you get the medical pension, all that stuff. Yeah,
I agree. And if I'm not mistaken, doesn't the U.S. Senator do 4 years and then rate retirement pay?
So I looked this up because I was going
to
smash Dan with this. So I was doing my research. No, they become eligible for it, but it's graduated and based on how long they've actually been.
Okay.
So that is a very common talking point that I was going to use against Dan.
Okay.
And then you couldn't.
I'm glad that you got to educate me on that, because I've stood on that.
I'm going to. Because I was waiting for him to say, well, yeah, we shouldn't get paid anything. You get paid $174,000 a year. So you're doing just fine, just so is everybody else. And then I was going to say, and after 4 years, you get a pension. That's not true.
It's not true. Dang it.
So that crushes mine.
Yeah.
I was like a balloon. It was like,
that's the worst when you find that out on AI, some question that you've just stood on so
they
many
are
times.
eligible, but it's at a fraction of the percentage. So they have to work their way in. It's a pretty substantial amount of time they have to do to get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's motivation to get reelected and stay in and keep the same people in.
I think there's a lot of motivations for that job to do that. That's one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would agree that I think that is a way to, again, I think that teachers fall into this as well, right? Like the people that we have teaching the next generation. I think the next generation is something that I'm sure that everybody thinks the same thing, but we need to focus on the next generation quite a bit more than we do when we have a group of people who are teaching them that have some of the lowest pay, $40,000 to be a teacher per year. That doesn't incentivize any of the top, graduates to come and teach our youth who are going to be taking over the country in the next 20, 40, 50 years. And we still want to stay on top as the United States of America. Then you're going to have a hard time persuading me that we truly want to stay on top as a country, because if I was running this, I would have our best teaching our children so that our children can get smarter. And again, this just helps everybody improve upon the layering and the time spent in. But again, if we could get the best into the military, best into the teaching careers for our children, I think our country would be sitting in a better place now and into, the future when we eventually go into, Warhammer 40K Space Marine era, which
I think we're about several days away from.
We're close, right? At this point, we're almost there.
When you guys were in, did you ever think there would be a conflict like Ukraine, where essentially DJI drones have been weaponized and are just flying back and forth?
Have you seen some of the photos of the cities with the
wiring? Yeah, the fields. Yeah, the fields when the sun hits it at the right angle, and it's just this fiber optic. Michael's pulled them up a couple times before. Yeah, I never once thought about it.
Neither did I. Not when I was in. And we started with some drones, and we had to have a special guy from the Air Force come down with a drone, and we'd all stand around and watch him take off this thing.
Watch him unbox the DJI drones. I'm specially trained on this. What? Did you have the credit card and you went to the Best Buy?
Right, exactly.
He's got his fizz. Yeah. He's got everything.
But
that's cool.
I never thought that we would have the drone footage we do of a grenade loaded drone going to land.
Or with their accuracy to drop it down an open turret from what looks to be a couple of 100 feet. Mm-hmm. It did it again, Michael. I thought you fixed it with the TV.
Yeah, do you see that, Luke? Look at that image of the big one there.
I got a question for you then, kind of based on this.
Yeah.
I get this quite often. Is there a spot for the human grunt in warfare in the next 30 years, or is it replaced by drones or
I don't think
AI?
So, because first off, that's a startling image.
It is. It's a disturbing image as well.
So help me understand this. I guess
what you're seeing. So laterally from left to right or right to left, what you are seeing is the fiber optic cable. A lot of these drones are fiber optically controlled, as opposed to remotely, because jam has become less of it. And I don't know enough about this. I'm sure there's a countermeasure for everything. So maybe there's a fiber optic, whatever. Maybe it's a net. I don't know. But that is the residual of the drones flying over. That's what's left over.
So from javelins or whatnot, they've got their
tow missile. Tow missile. Yeah. So the tow missile had the fiber optic so you could guide it in as it was going in, and the drones work the same way. Again, so you can't jam them.
That's terrible.
I do think there's a place for a grunt, though, because let's say if it became exceptionally unsafe to go outside, what are you going to do? You're going to fortify inside. How do you solve that problem? Robot dogs is obviously the answer. But
Robot quadrupeds, yeah.
But until we get to that point, I think there's
Mitoxin.
always going to be a place for boots on the ground, or for things like what just happened in Venezuela. Like that, I don't know how you do that with the drone. There's always going to be a place for the, ability to put human beings on a target to discriminate and discern what needs to be done like that.
Yep. That's why I've always argued and said the same thing, is that you're never going to get the grunt, the human, out of war, just for the importance of decision making on the ground.
Yeah, what do they describe it? So there's the humans in the loop, which is, I think, the way it is right now. The human would be on the loop, meaning autonomous things have to check in with us for final approval. Then there's humans out of the loop, which is when Terminator becomes a documentary.
Yep.
Skynet goes
That's when that
live.
happens.
Yeah,
That's when that
Skynet
happens.
becomes self-aware. I actually, Michael, please, since you've never seen this movie because you're a child,
Yes.
look up the date that Skynet became self-aware. I'm pretty sure we're past it.
I think we're past it.
Yeah,
I think
we need to know.
We're past it.
I think we're like, God, I looked at this.
It
I
might have
think
been a
we're like
couple
10
years
years ago.
What did it say?
I used to watch that show
Skynet became
religiously.
self-aware on August 29th, 1997.
What?
What? No way.
Are you looking
That's
up
what
at
it says.
factual Skynet? Because this is from a
In
movie.
the Terminator universe, Skynet became self-aware in 1997.
How are we so wrong? I thought it was
I thought
20,
it was 20,
at least the
something.
20 aughts.
Yeah.
I was
I don't-
1 year out of high school when Skynet became aware. Son of a bitch.
Damn,
I was a sophomore.
we need Sarah Connor.
Wow, it's clearly been a while since I've watched that documentary. Why did you want to start MVP?
So I got out, did eight and a half years in.
What did you do while you were in? Give us the
Scout
origin
sniper.
story.
Yep. So my first four, I did 3 deployments to Iraq. First one was Fallujah. Came back, inducted into the sniper platoon. Did 2 more deployments as the first one as a team leader, and then second one as chief scout for our platoon. Got done with that, went up to the Mountain Warfare Training Center, became a instructor at the Mountain Scout Sniper course there. Did that for about 3.5 years. I was looking into going into Border Patrol. We had some BORTAC guys come and train with us. I loved their mission, thought it was sexy, but I got 3 kids at the same time, right? And so I head home back to Montana with my wife and 3 kids. We get up here, and I couldn't move my kids away from family again, right? We got home, we got kind of settled in for a couple months, and it felt right. So decided to go to school. I was getting my degree in psychology. I was fortunate enough to work at the vet center for the VA. So specializing in PTSD, military sexual trauma. And this, they try to stay away from a sterilized feel, if you're familiar with vet centers. While I was there, and again, I'm just working as a work study, right? So I'm going to school, getting my degree. This is how I'm making a little bit of income, getting able to do my homework. While I was there, I noticed the approach for dealing with PTSD, in that, somebody comes in, sits on the couch, you talk about your feelings and your issues, and then you leave. Having also had a major influence in my life, that was my father-in-law, who was in Vietnam, Special Forces 5th Group, dealt with some stuff in his time, and so he had a lot of a big impact on me. But at that time, 22 kill was a big number. I don't know if you remember that, veteran suicide. Yep. And that was about 2012 when that was going on. And so I just felt that there was a different way that we could go about improving mental health for warriors that were coming home. And I didn't think that sitting on a couch talking to a counselor, at that time there weren't a whole lot of counselors that had combat experience, so there was a little bit of a breakdown. A lot of times guys and gals don't want to speak with somebody who's never been there, right? There's a little bit of a, you aren't there so you wouldn't know mentality. And so the idea of getting veterans into the backcountry and being around other veterans that have had this experience, and being able to show them tangible ways in which that you could alleviate that chokehold that Bob was experiencing from fear, right? Like that happens after combat in the civilian world. And if you don't know how to get through it, you don't know how to get that goal to get yourself re-centered and move forward, you can get stuck in that loop. And again, just sitting on a couch talking to a counselor didn't seem like it was hitting the mark. So I felt that there was a better way to go about it. also the Marine that we were talking about earlier, right?
In a very nice way.
Scott, he had an idea, backdoor enthusiast, or outdoor.
I caught that. I was going to let that go.
No, I wasn't going to let it go.
Here's the thing. I'm not going to tell people how to live their life.
Yeah.
Whatever. As long as it's consensual adults, I don't care.
Backcountry.
Well, I was going to say outdoor enthusiast,
Outdoor.
but
You just mixed the two. And
it happens, right? Short strokes of words.
Does it just happen? I don't know. I feel like there's planning that goes into probably some prep.
I've been studying all week to make sure I got that right. Anyway, he had an idea of taking all the dog tags from the men and women who've died in Iraq and Afghanistan and putting them into a pig egg. That's a term that comes from the Marine Corps Scout Sniper community, and essentially a sandbag that we use to incur suffering and get people to quit, right?
Yeah,
to
I'm
wash
familiar.
out the weak, pig egg. And so... he had that idea. We kind of put it all together and just started taking bets into the backcountry. And here we are now, 10 years later.
Today's episode is brought to you by Shopify. Listen, again, we're in the new year. Do you want to look back at the end of this year and say to yourself, I wish I had done fill in the blank? There are so many people that reach out to me and they say, I like what I'm doing right now, but it doesn't fulfill me. I'm not passionate about it. I want to do something else. And my advice to them always is, make sure that you protect what you have right now so you can provide, but then in your off time, start building and exploring what it is and what you want to be. We live in a digital world, and so many people are out there. They're looking for things, whether it's shopping or courses or whatever it may be. And if your desire is to be in that world, to create something that you can sell to people and market to them digitally, which is the world we live in, whether we like it or not, 2026 is the year to do this, and do it now. Don't look back at the end of the year and wish you had done it. Get on board, click over to Shopify, and start building that digital business that you want to. Shopify gives you everything that you need to sell in person and online. Millions of entrepreneurs have already made this leap, from household names to first-time business owners that are just getting started. When I started selling merchandise for the podcast, guess what I used? Shopify, and I still do to this day. So we are 8 or 9 years at this point. I designed the page, I uploaded everything, and let's be clear, if I can figure it out, you can too. It is super easy and convenient to do. You can set it up fast with Shopify's built-in AI tools that write product descriptions and headlines and can help you edit your photos. Marketing is built in too. You can create email and social campaigns that reach customers wherever they happen to be scrolling. It's very user-friendly. And again, I'm saying that as somebody who isn't a tech guy. In 2026, stop waiting and start selling with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/clearedhot. Go to shopify.com/clearedhot. That is, again, shopify.com/clearedhot. Hear your first cha-ching this new year with Shopify by your side. Back to the show. What do you think about the Marine Corps getting rid of the Scout Sniper program?
So there's a lot to that, right? Yeah. I mean, initially, first thing, I think, was it Commandant Gray? I think that was the one who made the decision for that. I don't think it's a good idea. But I also don't think that the Scout Sniper community at the time did themselves any favors, right? I don't think that they approached... I don't think they approached it right for the longevity of the MOS. And so that's kind of all I'll say with that.
How do they bridge that capability now that it's gone, though? I mean, obviously there'll be some legacy people who could fill that role for now, but if they don't have a training pipeline for it, it goes away.
So I believe the 0321, the recon community picks it up, okay. Which studs and can, absolutely. Doesn't mean that it shouldn't be something that's available at the battalion as a battalion asset, as it was before. Even regimental asset would be, I think, beneficial too. And now they have scout platoons. They've taken away the long guns, if I'm not mistaken. I don't keep up with too much of this, but I think 0321's picked it up.
As long as there's not a capability gap, I'm happy to hear that. I didn't understand the decision, nor did it really ring that close home to me. So I was aware that it had happened, but I didn't understand the potential cascading effects it could have.
Right.
So, okay, you have this idea 10 years ago. How'd you put it into action? What was the first trip like?
Yeah, so I got to get okay. So this is part of my. So I'm going to school. So then it's part of my master's degree, right? Like to. So I'm killing two birds with one stone, right? Because at the same time, I'm also building houses, and I've got 3 kids and a wife, and so it's kind of trying to juggle a bunch of stuff, right? So as I'm doing that, I'm able to get Eagle Mount Great Falls, which is a local nonprofit, to let us jump underneath them as an umbrella nonprofit so that we can start under them, which I owe a lot to them for allowing us that jump off. So the first trip that we ever did ended up being in the Missouri River Breaks. And at this point, I had no idea what we were doing other than let's go out and suffer well and do hard shit. And there was no...
And the breaks, that's all it is just...
The breaks is terrible.
Breaks is amazing, though. It's so
it's gorgeous.
amazing.
It's amazing, but you can definitely suffer without
you
having
can break
the
yourself
wrinkles.
off out there for sure. We call that a kind of a buffet. It's a choose your own adventure.
It is.
Yeah, certainly.
In canoes, by the way.
So
you weren't hiking around.
we weren't hiking.
In
This
canoes.
is the first trip. We got one person to come on this trip with us outside of, this initial group of team leaders that we refer to ourselves as, all enthusiastic about, let's go do this. We got the pig egg. We're going to go float down the Missouri River Breaks. We got canoes, and those were donated to us. We had a lot of momentum and people around. I've had so many people bless MVP. I'm just very, very fortunate. And so here we are, canoes, and it's like day one, get in, take off. After about 20 minutes, it's like, cool. What the fuck do we do now? So it's like, all right, here we go. Keep going. We pull off. And you're talking about a community that now we're on the river. We've got this pig egg. I haven't really thought much further than this part. Now we're at a campsite, and it's like, okay, what do we do now? And we don't have any type of alcohol. We don't have any, because most of us think of being on the river or doing things in the, sip a little whiskey, like take the edge off. So now we're just like kind of all staring at each other. There's no real guidance on what we could be talking about or anything, and didn't have any type of overhead cover. So now we're just sitting baking in the July, I believe it was July heat. And
where the sun goes down at about 11 p.m.
So we're just, like mosquitoes and that kind of shit, just like no shit, just kind of suffering well. And so that was trip 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it a single day? You just did one overnight?
No, it was like 3 days. It was 4 days. They've always been 4 days long.
4 days, 3 nights.
They've always been 4 days long.
What did we learn from this first experience?
Well, I didn't have this rule yet, was, don't ask, don't tell when it comes to marijuana, and so this would have been 2016-ish. And so we're floating down the river, and the participant, the one who showed up, just breaks out a J and just starts reefing on that down the river. It's like, all right, dude, hey, can't be doing that, right? Like, if you're going to do that, fair enough. Just do that in the bushes over here, because this nonprofit that I fall under, they provide recreational trips for kids with disabilities, so that's not a good look. Let's not do that. But I learned that I had a long ways to go, that there was a lot more, that there was time fillers. And, sometimes you have an initial idea and you see the end goal, you see what it could be.
Oh, yeah.
But the distance, from here to there, none of that shit has been filled in. And sometimes the maturity that you have yourself, you haven't even gotten there yet. And so you got to kind of let the journey get you to the maturity of where you need to be so that you can even speak educatedly about whatever topic that you don't know exists at the beginning, but you know that it's out there somewhere in the future and you're going to be able to talk about it. But all I remember is, a bunch of team leaders that are willing to go, they were down to do it. And knowing that there was another way to combat, because ultimately the idea was to do something about veteran suicide, right? Is to have a positive impact and do something instead of just sitting on our hands. And so I learned a lot of what not to do. I learned that the Missouri River Breaks has its own form of suckfest, and it was going to be a long road to go.
So how was your journey? Many years down the road, how was your 4-day adventure? Talk
so
me through that.
Yeah.
Let's the origin story. Let's dive into the evolution.
By the time I get invited, and I had done a few veteran things previous, like some hunt trips or fishing or whatever. And after my first one, I realized that not a lot of veterans are talking about the hard things to talk about. They're not talking about the troubles that they're having as being a dad, a husband, a coworker, or this, when they get stuck in the mall because things are just too hard for them or whatever may be happening, and they don't talk about it. And
why do you think that is?
I think it's different for everyone. But I think once you get around a group of veterans, nobody wants to be the weakest, right? There ends up being a lot of, I'll just say dick measuring, and you're just trying not to give up too much information to be the guy that gets picked on, and so there's a chance that if you open up and say, yeah, I had a really hard time at the movie theater, or whatever it may be, then now you're the target. Because I felt in the Army, that was my upbringing, Army infantry.
There's a chance that will happen, but I've never seen it where somebody opens up and that actually does happen.
No, but I think that's
an irrational fear.
It's an irrational fear, exactly, and that's what I think happens. And so I started going on these trips because you'll run into many veterans, and this is another thing we can talk about if you wanted to. But if you have all of your limbs, you don't want to take a seat of someone that doesn't on a veteran trip.
Yeah,
and that doesn't mean you don't have any wounds. That doesn't mean you don't have anything to heal from, but you see these guys that you say went through more than you in a harder time, and I'm not trying to minimize what any of them went through. You want to save a seat for them and let them go on these trips and them take care of that. So anyway, I decided that I'm going to go on this trip with this group of veterans just to be that guy that'll start talking about hard things, and I'll help some people. My goal is just to help one guy on the trip, and maybe we stay in contact and I can help him through whatever it may be. And we stopped. So we were on the Smith River, and there's a partnership now that we've developed with the Smith River and Fish, Wildlife and Parks and the Forest Service. And but at the time it was kind of still there, like it was definitely in the process, but now we've solidified it. But it ended up being like a work trip, and I didn't know that at the time. You dug holes, and that's where you pooped. FWP managed those, but we as MVP helped. And so you flush the toilet, you bring a 5-gallon bucket, and you go and dump water in there to help the poos dissolve and do their thing, biodegrade. And if it's too full, you'd bury that hole and dig another one. Well, what we started running into the problem was you dig a hole, and that's the last year's spot and so you started running out of spots on the Smith River that you could dig holes, and so now you can't do that anymore.
Put a rock there, something.
Yeah, but you got to pack in, pack out. There's lots of rocks out there.
Painted a color.
But now it's like punji pits that you literally have to watch out for when you're walking along, like soft dirt that you can step in. And this is after, I guess I don't know, the 30 plus years of the Forest Service, having to move these latrines, and so there's a bunch of different spots. So I was able to convince a bunch of veterans to, go into the backcountry and dig up a bunch of human shit.
Yeah. I'm skipping forward in the story a little bit, but their website wasn't great. Their social media I couldn't find anything on, so I didn't even know it was a work trip. I thought I was going down to Smith to do some fishing and hang out with some veterans, but it was a work trip, and I got to dig holes, and some of it has to do with feces. But the first stop we made was actually just to have lunch, and Luke immediately gathers a group around as we're eating these wraps with lunch meat and cheese, and he's like, all right, day one sucks. It's hard to leave your family and go into the unknown and to do some of these things, but here's some of the rules of MVP, and we're going to talk about some hard things. And it was in that moment I said, this is the future for me, because I want an organization that's addressing what's going on. And that was the rest of the trip. And we definitely had rain. Montana, especially on the Smith River, it could snow in July, it can hail, it can be 90 degrees. Like you never know what's going to happen. And so we had rain, we had some suffering, but we have the next morning I wake up and he's like, all right, we're going to do a morning routine, and we do mountain yoga. Combat yoga. You have to give it a different name than just yoga.
Well, I was going to say, what is combat yoga?
It's the same as yoga, but you just put combat before it.
It's not like the opening scene of what's the Bruce Willis movie, Nakatomi Plaza, Die Hard 2, where the guy's doing the naked.
Oh, yeah. Nope. Fully clothed.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do yoga, we do breathing, we do a little bit of meditation, and it's a progressive thing. So by the day 3, you're doing a full session of yoga, a full session of breathing, and a full session of meditation. And then you cap it off with some cold water immersion. And a lot of these things I hadn't even been exposed to yet. And so I'm kind of learning this process. And then you start to hear some testimony of these guys of like how much this is helping them and how much they can use it in their life. And so I immediately went on the next trip, which was just a month later down the Smith. And Luke and I rode on a boat together. And I said, dude, I got to help your website. It sucks. And I didn't know that they had just done an update. I was like, I'm going to help you with your website. I brought my camera on this trip. I'm taking a bunch of pictures. We're going to get them up there so people, because nowadays, if you don't have video and photo, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. And so I've just been spending the last, this will be year 4 for me, just trying to document what's going on and get the word out and share a little bit more, which is why I reached out to you and just say, hey, I'd like to do that and continue to grow. And I have I've known Josh for 5 years, and so connections and working all that together, networking is kind of my gifting. And so anyway, that's what stuck me with MVP is like these guys are doing everything right except for telling people about what they're doing, because they were all just a bunch of humble guys that if they took pictures, they were bragging. And I want to be like, we're not bragging, we're just telling people that this is good for them. We're trying to get the people that are stuck down there.
You could have the most impactful product, but in a digital age, if it doesn't show up with that footprint, it's just you just get mowed with the rest of the grass.
And so definitely the goal was veteran suicide, but it's not like we have a bunch of suicidal veterans that are on our trips, right?
Do you think we can even impact veteran suicide? This is one I toil with.
So
without starting all over,
I think the goal is actually the red flags that come before veteran suicide. So isolation, not being active. We paint a picture of a guy in a basement and playing video games.
You could also take the term veteran out of that though too. And that's what I'm saying.
You exactly can.
I don't get me wrong. I don't think it's an issue that we should ignore at all. I think we should take a reductionist approach to it, not an absolutionist approach. Mm-hmm. Getting it to zero, as far as I can figure, is impossible unless we can solve it for humanity, because these are just people who chose an occupational path that was not parallel with most people's. I don't understand why they have a higher statistical rate of suicide. But in the conversations I have had with guys I used to work with, I never once sat down with my buddies and said, oh, tell me about your upbringing. Was it gnarly? How did you come from a broken home, or did you have a nuclear family? Are you bringing a lot of trauma with you? None of that stuff. But now afterwards, I've had a lot more of those conversations. I've been shocked. So they brought a full sea bag with them, to use a Navy term, which is just a large bag for you guys. Actually, you should know this because the Marine Corps is the Department of the Navy. It's the men's department, however.
Thank you for acknowledging.
However, we sign your checks. I don't know what that means. We haven't issued checks.
We get rides from you guys.
We haven't issued checks since the late 90s, to my knowledge. It's just all digital at this point. So that's like, we can't even say that anymore. No, Marines are fantastic. I love them. But you bring the sea bag with you. You can put a lot more in it when you're in. Then you get out, and if you find yourself in a place where you make that choice, if you served in the military, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but your suicide is going to be associated with that service. And maybe it totally is. Or maybe it's a microscopic impact, and what really got you to that place was unresolved things that you never dealt with before, layered on top of the other pressure that comes with that job. Mm-hmm. I don't know the answer to it. I want the number to be lower. From what I've heard and what I've been able to look up, the 22 is actually low. It was an incomplete study that was done when they did it in the first place.
And it's 17 now, but
is it though?
As per the last, I think it was a 2024 annual suicide prevention report. It was 17 per day. So the initial number was 22, but there is a caveat that if you were to add in, statistics related to high risk activity, right, as well as alcohol, XYZ, that they think that it could get quite a bit higher. It's just hard to tease out those variables. I agree with you about most of that when it comes to, just how much we lean on alcohol alone. Yeah. And if we have some sea baggage coming in, and then we do our service. We got some sea baggage going out. The only way that I know how to, again, most of this comes down to a feeling of anxiety and guilt and feeling low, right?
Yeah.
If the only way that I know to make myself feel better is to drink a bunch of alcohol, copious amounts of poison over extended periods of time are going to change your personality. So that's not useful at all. Yeah. You'd have to get rid of that. Certainly is something to take off the table. And then with the veteran group, when you don't have much of a, when you go from hunting humans for your country,
I mean, I don't call it that. I call it hide and seek. But
sure, fair enough. When you play hide and seek
with night vision at night,
yes, and pop guns,
and they didn't have those.
That's a whole nother conversation that you could go down. But when you get, I mean, you do that for so many years in your life, and there's so much honor that comes with that, and prestige and camaraderie, and then you step out, and I no longer have that as a part of my identity anymore, nor do I have any type of job that would ever remotely come close to that. There's a grieving process that has to happen with that. Just giving up your job, like you have to grieve and cry and like feel like shit and like give yourself time to heal from that. And then on top of that, one of the in my research, one of the saddest things I think is that a lot of humans will get it in their brain that the best thing that they could do for their family is to take their life, right?
Yeah,
this
I've
sinister,
heard that from quite a few people, yeah.
Yep.
Which is an irrational. They make an irrational thought rational, which is not headspace that I can replicate, but I understand that they get there.
Yep.
Let me ask you this: should there be honor and prestige in hunting other human beings?
Yes.
Why?
Personally, to me, with the intent of protecting.
And I only ask that because there's a weight that comes with it. Mm-hmm. And if you have prestige for those people and you honor those people, but then they can never be that person again, are we setting them up for failure?
Well, warriors have, it seems in my experience, warriors through all cultures have always had honor and prestige. They've always been lifted up. And again, because of the nature of going and taking on your finest, our finest, we're going to fight so that this group of people gets to continue with its way of life, right? The bad guys are, the men who are capable of doing nasty things so that the rest of us can sleep nice in our bed. Yes, I think it should be honored. I don't know that we do a good job of helping that on-ramp into the military, right? We're good at that, and we're good at training. The on-ramp out is where we're struggling. Native American cultures there's always been
transition.
There's been evidence of that transition back into it, and generally it revolves around shamans. It's interesting too that now we're
shamans, I think they were flipping over cow patties and eating some of them mushrooms.
Just going into the psilocybin. Yeah, that's exactly right. And
which I'm not judging, but if for some reason it's left out of the lore. We sat there and tripped balls watching the Northern Lights.
Yeah. Yes. And is peyote, right? Using psychotropics, right? That are going to help you, whatever. If you've ever done that and experienced a higher plane, apparently it does quite a bit for a human psyche as you're transitioning out or dealing with trauma or addiction or just bad shit that has happened to you. So whatever it may be, to answer your question, I think that the off-ramp process needs to be done differently.
I've had this conversation with some people too. I think what we need to do, because you describe what the military is good at really well. They can take somebody from a me-centric world and put them into a we-centric environment, regardless of the branch you go into. They're very good at doing military stuff, and I think we might be better served if we remove the off-ramp from the military. I actually think this is the perfect spot for NGOs.
What do you mean?
That it's not a government institution.
Meaning when you get out, you get handed over to a non-government organization that specializes in your transition.
Fair. Understood.
Because the TAPS program that I went to, which, let me say this, I had all the signatures on my paper when I left.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
I may or may not have attended all of the classes. And so the question is, one, first off, if I didn't, that's completely my choice and my fault. So this is not a rap on TAPS. But there's no way that a week-long program is, after nearly 17 years, is going to prepare you for the civilian world. There are, again, if there's 40,000 service-based organizations, let's let the military focus on onboarding and lethality and figure out this transitional space where it's not like the military can just wipe their hands, right? Maybe you're even still active for the 2 months, whatever it is, but we hand you over to people that can facilitate whatever it may be. And I know this is pie in the sky. There's a detail or two missing in my grand plan.
Pie in the sky is good. Yeah.
But I think the military would actually function better if you did that.
I agree.
Focus on your core competency. Let's find or build people who it is their core competency, and that's all they do.
I would add to that too that I think that's all a great idea. I think that's hopefully we get there someday. But I think that it's also important too that it's instilled into the veteran at that point, military member, maybe last 60 days, whatever it may be, that there's always a chance too that the country might need you again. You know what I mean? Don't go home and just get fat.
Well,
don't go home.
So not to interrupt you, but how about this? How about when you get out, your thoughts on service are reoriented towards the fact you have the rest of your life to continue to give back and take all of these positive things. I mean, let's say baseline level. I wasn't in the Marines, so we'll talk about a slightly harder boot camp, which is naval boot camp. So
I thought you were going to say Army. I was like, all right, now we're...
So no, Navy boot camp is 8 months long because it's so cutting edge. Actually, it was 8 weeks long. I still, if I'm being honest, still fold my T-shirts in that way. I mean, I can put a knife cutting edge on a T-shirt, poke your eye out. I mean, we don't have to celebrate
just
it.
In case you need to throw in a star.
Yeah, poke your eye out.
Yeah.
So just in case people need to know what kind of weapons I have, they're folded in my laundry. But even Marine Corps boot camp, you will have an understanding of discipline, communication, working in an environment that is larger than just you as an individual. Hopefully some reinforcement on integrity, morality, teamwork, all of these things, leadership, at least an understanding and exposure to leadership. I'm sorry, how could that not be completely beneficial? And this is just a dude who went to boot camp, and if you just went to boot camp and then went back into the civilian world, you literally could have a positive impact on the people around you of your age range because they don't have that experience. So what is Marine Corps boot camp anyway? Is it 12 weeks?
12 and a half weeks.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Even if somebody was like, hey, you're just going to go to boot camp, you could still go back to where you came from and your cohort, your peers at that time, and level them up like that. Mm-hmm. So you layer a career on top of that. How about this? Now is your opportunity for the rest of your life to figure out how you can make every aspect of your community better. And in doing so, strengthen our country.
Agreed.
Making it even more worthwhile for the people who are willing to sign on the bottom line.
I couldn't agree more. And I think...
What are you laughing at? Does he say this stuff all the time?
No, it's our program. Like we want to take.
You guys go down in a river. I'm talking about
I'm
making
Mount Rushmore.
I am changing fucking lives here, bro.
The mentality of it that a warrior in a war zone to a warrior in a peace zone. We want to have your military experience not be a negative and you're a victim and this is something I need to overcome, but this is something that should build you into a better father, husband, and coworker, friend. And that experience isn't something you should be guilty of because scientifically you're not even the same person when you break it down into the atoms and everything else. After 7 years, you're a completely different human, right? And so let's not live in the guilt. Let's live through the training of being a warrior. And how do you apply that to when you're a dad and when you're a husband and when you're a coworker to be the best in your community? And not to the point of where you're like accolades and you're holding this above them, but you're an equal that's just helping rise everything up. You're trying to bring everything up, not just you, but everything with you.
The country does need veterans.
They absolutely needs them.
I don't know if they need them stocking Yeti shelves with like a freaking knife. Because
I don't know. Those shelves get stocked all the time. You go into Scott's apartment, get squared away.
As you were describing this person, I'm like, I could tell you what he drives. Stickers that may or may not be on the glass in the back and the bumper sticker. I could probably tell you his Monday through Friday attire. All for it. What length of fixed blade knife he carries at all times, where he carries it. selective firearm, all of those things. However, that can have the broadsword approach can do broadsword things. Sometimes you need a scalpel, and people's exposure to that person, which I think some of those people are like that, have mid to weapons grade tism a little bit that they probably had before, right? And they brought it with them, which the military actually deeply rewards. So if you think about
yes,
100%.
You can sell.
It's like the movie The Accountant, but there's thousands of them.
Yeah, true.
So it's very beneficial there, but though not everybody likes being around that. And if you can't learn to round the edges, and I don't want people to not be who they are, but if you're not aware that that can actually kind of turn some people off, and then then that's the pebble that you drop in there, and the ripples that go out from that are a little bit more negative in nature.
Yep.
But I think veterans service starts when they get out. And I didn't recognize that or realize that for a very long time. I truly, at this point in my life, I want to be a value add. I would like to leave 0.00000, however many zeros you can add, 1% better than it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to my understanding, the little bit I've heard you kind of explain into the book that's coming out in April, that's relatively what it's about, right? Is my understanding correct?
I wrote it so long ago, I forget, to be honest. I'm doing the audiobook for the next 3 days here in the studio, so I'll let you know if it's any good. I mean, but at the end of the day, yes. If I had a copy, I have some galley copies. If I had one here, I'd send you guys home with one. You guys could give me some feedback. It's not war stories. There's not a single war story in the book. It's mistakes and things that I learned from it. And my goal with it is, I really think people view specifically the special operations world as unattainable for almost everyone, which I guess mathematically it is, but also almost nobody is dumb enough to try to go down that pathway anyway. Mm-hmm. So if the experiences only impact that one person's life because they spent time in there, I just feel like that's a huge waste. If you could take those experiences and figure out a way to communicate them to others and they become tools that people can use to change their life, now we're talking. So that was more or less the goal of it.
Mm-hmm. To take your military experience and make those around you better.
Yeah, just to take the mistakes and hopefully, I mean, I do believe people need to make mistakes. I mean, I'm sure you guys see this with your kids too. Although they think they are the most creative, intelligent humans ever, I sit there and I watch. I'm like, oh yeah, the first wheels of that car came off a little while ago. But I'm going to go ahead, this is going to be a fender bender, not a fatal accident in your personal life. So I'm going to let this one play itself out in real, because they have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you want them to.
Yeah. And at a macro level, though, there are some pretty easy lessons to learn from my idiotic mistakes. And I think it'll help people. Mm-hmm. But if I went to the grave and didn't try to do something with those, yeah, cool for me. But what's the point? Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's what I was thinking.
And so, yeah, that's why I was laughing, is that I feel that when I kind of wanted a purpose to serve some more, like I want to serve my community. I want to serve my family.
Every day, people forget about it. Every day. And every interaction you have, it's actually there.
And I think it's, I used to say and I still say it, I guess, there's purpose in the journey. So every barista you run into, everybody you open the door for at the gas station or, whatever, there's an opportunity to make that person and your interaction with them the best part of their day. And why wouldn't we look at life by doing that,
I agree.
And so like that's kind of what MVP does, is we're just trying to, veterans aren't victims. Like let's do some hard things together. And let's accomplish these 4 days of whatever may come up with weather or digging latrines or whatever.
Do you guys even check the weather at this point? I feel like you didn't the first time.
No. And at this point, there's a lot of shit that I didn't check the first time. But
listen, on your initial rep, it's more enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
How bad could it be? It's sunny out right now. Montana weather doesn't change ever.
ever.
Holy cow. I've lived here 9 years at this point. I have a variety of clothing in my truck.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know that we anymore check the weather. I mean, obviously we check the weather 100%. Yep. Most times it's not going to stop us from going out, though. The idea of just So the on-ramp or the off-ramp part of helping, veterans integrate back into society so they can be productive and do exactly what we're talking about. Sometimes it requires a bit of suffering to wake folks up. You had made mention earlier about you don't know folks. I can't remember exactly how you had said this, but finding out who a person really is, one of the best ways to do that is through suffering and stress and a terrible situation, right?
There's that, or I'm firmly of the belief now you meet the real person when you tell them no.
Okay, yeah. They don't want to hear it? Yeah.
Just now, think about it. It's real easy to be affable and friendly, and people want to be around when they're getting what they want.
Yeah.
When you tell somebody no for the first time, you will get a look into who they actually are. That's who the real person is. In addition, like what you're talking about is true, but it's revealing. And I try to remember that when I get no's as well, because that's one of those moments where you'll sit with yourself and think, why did I just say that? Maybe I'm not a master of myself to the degree that I think I am. But I tell you what, you want to watch best friends go to mortal enemies? And I'm not saying, for anybody listening to this, for the love of God, please don't go out there and just start saying no to people. That's not what I'm saying. No. Like, that's not what I'm saying. If the time comes up where you have to hold your ground, watch how the other person reacts.
Yeah, and like suffering kind of is the universe's no, right? Like everything's going good, and then something hits you in the face, and now, oh shit, I got to take this on.
It's
this is
a physical manifestation of it.
Yeah, it's exactly that. And when people get to see how they react, and then now we get to mirror them, right, when they're on a trip with us, and we're out there suffering just right alongside with you, but we're going to do it with a smile on our face because we know that this is just temporary. We're going to move through this. We're going to get through this as a team. So now you wanting to get all pouty and be a little bitch out there, right, and fall back into that little victim mentality that you have, go for it. See how far that gets you with the rest of the group who is standing here still enjoying themselves, and now you have to do some personal insight or reflection into who you are. You know what I mean? It causes that.
The victim term is an interesting one. In your guys' experience, did service in the military while you were in, did it reward in any way a victim mentality? Because in my experience, it did not.
Not in service, but post service.
That's what I'm saying, though.
Yep.
Where does the switch happen?
So
because
I think
the community that we came from, the same people that we're talking about, it was in no way, shape, or form
we made songs about people that
That's what
wanted
I'm
to be
saying.
victims.
It wasn't taught and it wasn't reinforced.
Yeah.
Where does the change happen?
Sang cadence about it.
I think some of it comes from the Vietnam veteran, right? And so I always have to say this, is I have so much respect and admiration for the Vietnam veteran, for all that they did before us. They went into a meat grinder that was a complete bullshit war, in my opinion. We have one pig egg. If we were to replicate this with the Vietnam War, we'd have 8.9 pig eggs, just to give you context. Then they got to come home and be called war or baby killers, XYZ. They knew that something existed out there that was shell shock, later become known as PTSD. They fought for it so that future generations would get that. Always grateful to them for everything that they've done. So much so that and maybe you experienced this, when I came home, especially after Fallujah, we got home, we were like Super Bowl champs. Yeah. Like we had fire trucks, we had police cars, we had people cheering, we got off the bird, and it was just insane. Even to this day, there's a bit of celebrity that comes with being a service member, having served your country. If you talk to Vietnam era veterans,
not the case. My dad was one as well. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, my father-in-law Jim was telling me that when he would get home and be in a bar, you didn't dare tell anyone that you were in the service for fear of violent repercussions. In all of that, I believe that because a lot of those guys would tell us, I remember getting out, that they would tell me specifically, claim everything, everything's wrong with you, make sure you do X, Y, and Z so that the VA will reward or give you the appropriate... Compensate is the appropriate word. So from that, I believe that some of that victim kind of mentality was born from Vietnam veterans actually trying to help. right?
Interesting.
And then it somewhat gets morphed into let's all feel sorry for us. And then we had already discussed again, if there's a financial gain here, and if we were living in a time where you got to have a couple different jobs, which we are, and you got to have a side gig and grind and work your ass off to make a little bit of money, it's not how it was in the 80s and 90s. It's a little different now, right? If I can count on a little bit of extra money coming from X, Y, and Z, then I'm going to play the game, right? But I think some of the problem with that is too, also, is that once you buy into this victim notion and you really let it sink in, and you really do start to play that, and you really do start feeling sorry for yourself and sitting your ass on the couch and living a sedentary lifestyle.
It becomes your identity.
It becomes your identity, and then it kills you. So we're talking about the off-ramp.
Yeah.
One of the things we were talking about, attaching honor to that as you're doing the off-ramp, like your country could need you again, right? I don't know.
Does need you. Let's just take could out.
Okay. And when I say does, I mean like maybe we pull you back because we need a war again. Maybe that's not the appropriate way to do it, but that's just kind of my thought pattern. But with that, don't get fat. Like, just to put it simply, like, fitness is probably the number one.
Super judgy. Some people have larger bones. I mean, Michael, are we crossing into the line here of discrimination?
Fat phobia for sure.
I don't want to be demonetized.
Fair enough. Apologies. I'm a pretentious prick.
Body shaming.
Yeah, you're shaming people. Yeah. You are calling them a nasty 3-letter word.
I meant PHAT, pretty hot and tempting. Does that
Do
count
you
for anything?
think that anybody enjoys being overweight? I can't see a positive aspect in your life. How does it, and don't get me wrong, I mean, my weight will float around from time to time too, but especially, again, and I look back, the military, first off, people think that all SEALs are calendar worthy. There were some men who had to have others look at the size of their penis for them because from a vertical plane, they had Mount Tummy in the middle, right? So Mount Tummyless was probably stopping them.
Yeah.
So, and it was generally associated with later in their career. And maybe they might have been broken, whatever it may be. But the point is, vastly and mostly the military doesn't reward letting yourself go. As a matter of fact, you're supposed to be taking tests and all sorts of things, but anybody who's ever been in for 6 seconds knows there's a variety of ways around those.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So why then let yourself go down that slope afterwards? Especially for young men, because I think physical activity and mental health are intrinsically tied in some way, but they and you feel that. I mean, I at least feel it, and I bet you guys do too. Like, God, a day I go and get just beating the crap out of Michael in jiu-jitsu, just really making sure he suffers as I enjoy it, which is usually days that end in Y. I feel so much better with my ability to think. I rest better that night. It's not that people don't know this. Why let yourself go? And I understand the stresses of life and all of those things, but I also understand it doesn't happen overnight. And you get yourself into this place where I think it might take 1 or 2x the amount of time it took you to get there to get it off.
And that's the point of don't let yourself get there in the first place, because getting back is, I don't want to have to deal with that, because it would be probably the hardest thing I would have ever had to. It's really goddamn hard to lose weight once you put it on. So that's the point of just
especially as you age.
Especially as you age.
Yeah.
And for your mental health, I guess I don't know. I don't know how, other than life getting busy and it's hard.
It's
kids.
Easy.
It's easy.
Anytime I explain to somebody how to go fishing or how to go hunting, is what you're pursuing is going. It's nature, right? And so you're a deer, an elk, a rainbow trout, a bass. They're going to be in the spots with the least caloric output for the highest caloric gain, right? And so
unless they're in the rut.
Unless they're in the rut.
Then we're going to go deep into a calorie deficit.
Absolutely. And that's true unless they're breeding. Yeah. But a trout's going to sit on the seam, in the slower water, letting the stuff come to them rather than go to it. And again, that's not 100% true, but 90% of the time it is. And we're the same way. We want the highest caloric gain for the least caloric output, and that's the easy way to do it. I went through a period when I was in ministry where you're doing church, potlucks and taking youth students out to McDonald's, every day of the week, and it just becomes the easy button.
Yeah.
And so in 2020, I decided I was getting a little too large. I lost 90 pounds that year. Like I had to do a lot of work.
Did you just use the term 90 pounds and a little too large? I'm just checking to make sure.
I was almost 300 pounds, and I went down to
90 pounds. I don't know in any world of weight loss. It would be. I just lost just a few.
No. I realized how big it was. I lost
90 that's
I lost an 8-year-old human.
That's
off
incredible,
of my
man.
body.
Congratulations.
Yeah. But it happened because I tried to go hunting with my son. Our first year archery hunting, I went into the Montana mountains and got up to the top of the mountain where we now want to hunt, and I'm dead. I told my son, I said, ethically, I can't get an animal off this mountain because I am not fit enough. And we had to leave. We were on bulls, too.
Yeah.
We had seen bulls that night before. And the next morning, I was like, you can do a little walk around, but don't shoot anything, please, because I can't help you get it off the mountain. And I had to walk down.
That's rough.
And so that year changed my life. And it's absolutely important that you do the hard things. Doing hard things makes easy things easier, and it makes hard things easier. Like doing hard things just makes life easier, even though it's hard to do it. And so a lot of us end up taking this easy route that video games are satisfying, right? They can get your endorphins up. They can get your heart rate up a little bit. They're exciting. Doritos taste really good with the 17 ingredients that come from who knows where to, get in your mouth. But it's in an easy delivery system. Baking chicken is a lot harder than opening a bag of Doritos. And so I think what ends up happening is you just end up going for the least caloric output for the highest caloric gain. And you end up in this bad spot.
I see the look on people's faces, and I wish more than anything there's something that you could do, and you can't. They got to do it for themselves. Yep.
They do. You can't change anyone. What elicits change in someone is they get to a point where you want to quit smoking. Well, you're either diagnosed with cancer or you finally make that choice yourself, and those are the only two things. And sometimes even the cancer doesn't do it; it's death, and that's when you quit smoking. Or you want to get healthy again. You're diagnosed with diabetes, or whatever, some debilitating disease, and that forces you to do it. Or you just decide internally, which is the hardest thing to do. I'm going to make a change.
It's impressive, man. 90 pounds is no joke.
It was a fun year. It was actually, I think 2020 is one of the first years that
you did it during COVID.
During COVID, and so I bought these pair of shoes that connected to your phone. I can't remember what brand it was. It might have been Nike or Reebok or something. They had like this device, and it would talk to you in your earbuds while you're running and tell you like your gait's too long, it's too short, it's too whatever.
I would turn that off immediately.
It took a half a mile, and I said, "Yes, I know I'm the worst runner, but you're never talking to me again." Shoes, like why did I buy these shoes?
British accent, so they sound smarter than you.
You couldn't choose the. It was just like
it's worth believing.
Yeah, it actually felt to me like this hot chick was like floating next to me, just yelling at how horrible of a runner I am at almost 300 pounds.
Just listen to Metallica.
That's what you
look at
do.
a Polaroid of yourself, just like
In your sand, man.
Yeah.
How many people are you guys getting now requesting to be a part of MVP, and how often do you guys do the program? Is it wintertime too, or do you guys focus mostly summer?
So it's spring, summer, and fall is how our trips go. We've got 4 trips that we're going to do next year, which are just our standard veteran-led therapeutic adventure trips. That's what we refer to them as, call them VTATs. We do 2 floats on the Smith, and then we'll do 2 hikes. The hikes are dependent on where, we've been in the Bar Marshall, the Beartooth. Kind of depends on what's happening with weather, fire for the year.
And you guys take the pig egg on all of those, correct?
Yes. Yep.
How does that work? Do you guys cycle it through the participants? Are you all responsible for it?
So we started initially that, everybody had to carry it at one point. And so it was, 70 plus pounds all put together. And so Scott would not have a pack. He would just break all his components up into the rest of our packs. So then one person would carry, we'd have a Kifaru, like meat hauler with this on it. Kifaru. I've always said
every
Kifaru.
time he says it, I'm like, oh, that's nailed on the
Kifaru.
chalkboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always called it.
Do you have
Kafaru.
some aluminium
and I've carried.
in there?
What's that?
You have some aluminium cans in there with water?
Tomato.
Kifaru? My goodness. Isn't that a Montana brand? You should know that one.
No,
That's,
they're in Wyoming
Colorado.
now.
Which Mystery Ranch is based in Bozeman.
Yep, Mystery Ranches, yeah.
So then we would carry. So then one person would take that and carry it at a time, right?
Yeah.
So we got a little smarter with how we did that, and so now day one we break it all up, and depending on how many people are on the trip is how much the weight will be that each person is responsible for a portion of the pig egg to carry out throughout the trip. And
Is it actual dog tags?
yeah. Oh yeah. There's
Do they have names on them?
individually named, branch of service, date of death, operation that they died on. Ironically, we've had to count. We had to scrub the roster twice. So the first time that we did this, got all the team leaders together. It took us about a week long to confirm, right? Yeah. So using the defense casualty analysis system, you get the names, all the information for anybody's, who's been lost during a battle or during a war. So cross-reference, make sure all the pig egg or all the dog tags are there as well as correct. That took us about a week. Well, about a year into the program, our pig egg was actually stolen from the facility, Eagle Mount Great Falls, where we were housing this. Yeah, it was July 4th of 2018 that it was stolen. There's a whole story with that, but so it goes missing. It ends up showing back up. It ends up being in a vehicle that's in the sheriff's impound. It just pops up mysteriously. So then we have to actually recount, right? Because now we got to go back through it. It took us 2 years to get through it that time, and we did end up being about 100 names short. So then we had to repopulate, and it is current up to Abbeygate. So all names up until that point are in the pig egg. But yes, it's every dog tag has an individual's name on it.
Have you guys considered adding the suicides?
So suicides from theater are in it. Since we've gotten back, we haven't put suicides in it. I don't.
If we included suicides, we'd have a lot of pig aids. I think it's 6.
Yeah, ironically you say that. I was just looking at 3rd Battalion 1st Marines, who I served with on our my first deployment during Fallujah. We lost 33 Marines on that deployment. As of 2019. 35 Marines from 3rd Battalion 1st Marines had killed themselves. So I don't know. I don't know that the pig egg is the spot for that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, do you want to, unless you just want it to be, I mean, you guys are trying to impact that statistic. I mean, do you smack people in the face with it? I mean, would it be, and I'm just thinking out loud here. I don't have an answer to this. Would that be even more impactful? Would that be too much? I read once recently, Michael, can you double check this? I read that the Green Beret community has now lost more people to suicide than they did during the GWAT in combat operations.
And in a lot of cases, most units, that's correct.
I keep hearing that kind of trend across branches,
I hear Michael pity pattering. Then he'll try to pull it on the screen. Then it'll disappear, and then he'll pull it back. He had it fixed.
It was working at one point.
Well, there's only one person who uses that desk, so...
I always find it interesting, too, when it comes to the suicide piece. So you're talking special forces. What do you got here?
This is the AI.
Yeah. Claim more lives than combat operations September 11th. I don't know what that means.
30,177. And so you can see the
personnel and veterans post 9/11 conflicts died by suicide compared to the 7,057.
7,057. It's a rough stat. And I mean, even if you just compare civilian too, I mean, it's happening more with veterans than it is with civilians. Almost double in Montana, or over double. Is it over double, Luke? I can't remember the exact numbers.
I'm sorry, what's that? What was it?
For the amount of civilian suicide in Montana to veteran suicide, is it over double? in Montana?
Going back to the study that we were talking about earlier, 17 U.S. adults per 100,000 U.S. adults kill themselves. In the veteran community, it's 34 veterans that kill themselves per every 100,000.
Is this here in Montana?
No, that's nationally. Those are national. And then per a 2021 report specific to Montana in the veteran population, it's 51. So 3 times the national average of veterans that kill themselves per 100,000.
I feel like that's got something to do with the remoteness and people's ability to isolate a little bit better in a place like this. If they want to,
vitamin D, like
vitamin D, but also, I mean, like, good luck. I mean, I guess you could lock yourself in your house. I'm just thinking about where I used to live in San Diego. I guess that you could do that, but you're going to feel far less isolated. It would be impossible to really feel geographically isolated. That's not the case out here. You can go boonies if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Montana's already on the suicide belt too, and so there's a group of states that kind of runs north to south, and where generally they have the highest rates of suicide. So we're already in that.
What do they attribute that to?
I think, I'm not sure. Seasonal depression disorder or SAD. What is the acronym for that? Anyways, light. I think has a lot to do with that. Yeah, so there's your suicide belt.
Is that West Virginia
Alaska's
right there? That's
in
just kind of out in the boonies.
I think it might be, actually.
I'm not good with my states. I didn't pass
Scroll down,
that
Michael.
in school.
Another thing too is Montana has one of, if not the highest veteran population. 10% of our population is veteran, and so I think those will contribute to that higher suicide rate as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, isolation's a big part of it, right?
Yeah, God, I wish I had a turnkey solution to that. It's such a nuanced and complex problem. So the people, I was asking you before I hijacked you, the people that your 4 programs you're going to run in 26, what kind of people are signing up for them?
Yeah, so we get, that's a good question. We get kind of veterans from all different communities, which is always kind of neat. Actually, you have special forces with Air Force, and so it's always kind of unique to get to see the interactions between everybody and the appreciation for one another. And so, yeah, because of Bryon stepping in here a couple of years ago and really increasing the impact or the footprint on social media, we're starting to get folks from all over the place. And in fact, last year we had veterans from the Midwest, I think from Florida.
We had a guy above 9,000 feet that a day before was in Florida.
Had a sniper platoon that's trying to come back. They're from all over the, Boston, Mexico City, again, Florida. And so we get folks from all over the place that we just tell them, get to Great Falls, Montana. We'll take care of the rest in regards to how much money that we can, afford to put towards the program, because we pay for, zero cost to the veteran is
other than travel.
And sometimes we can help out with that as well, depending on the budget. We've got our scholarship program, and depending on the needs of the veteran. But yeah, we males, females, any MOS, and this year we're going to be doing our first year where we take spouses as well, which is an underserved cohort of the veteran community, and
that's going to be a real interesting experiment.
We can pull it off. I'm excited to do this.
Oh, I'm not saying I don't want you to do it.
Yeah. No.
I bring your camera.
Oh, yes, I will definitely have my camera. I think it's going to be fun.
But is it going to be all couples, or you're just going to have a couple? So I think you should do all couples.
We'll have one float and one hike this year that we're opening up to spouses. And what we've agreed to is even a spouse without their partner could come. So we're just going to allow what's going to happen, so that we can prepare for everything as we continue to move into the future, right? And so we just wanted, even just thinking about how if you lost your husband and you're one of those spouses, how do we prove those kind of things, right? And so these are fun things that we're trying to figure out, because again, we want the real people to really help them, not somebody fake just trying to get a free trip down the Smith or something. And so just trying to get all of that figured out. But my wife is my hero. And she went through 2 deployments, raising children, paying bills with a power of attorney. She's my hero. And I feel that, there's kind of symbolism by carrying the pig egg together, that we're all carrying this weight, right? And there's a camaraderie, and you're still part of a community even if you don't feel like it and you've separated. You would fit right back in. Like you said, you weren't in the veteran community as much as people may even think that you are, but as soon as you come on one of the trips, after the first lunch, we're all making first sergeant jokes. We're the same
I don't know what
things.
that means. Like we use real ranks. Petty officer.
yeah, petty officer jokes. But you just end up kind of falling back into some of the same things that makes it feel real again. You know, because you can almost feel like it wasn't a real part the further away you get from it, and it starts to feel real again. But I feel that my wife carried that weight as well, if not even sometimes more, and in a more difficult way.
Different for sure.
You know.
So what do you leave? How do you send people home? Because they are able to come and experience this for 4 days, reconnect with something that maybe they had lost the connection with, or had lost their desire to be connected with, or they had not found their way back to it. How do you send people home?
Just kick them right out. There's no off-ramp.
That's the way to
There is importance with
Beat
ritual.
it, Roach.
There is importance with ritual, right, in ending something. Generally, at the end of our trips, there's a component in which feelings are shared, right? And it's important that it's not, you know, we don't do like kumbaya shit around the fire, like you tell me about your trauma, now you go. A lot of that stuff just happens kind of organically, where being in the backcountry is, for lack of a better term, just magical. When you're back there for 3 to 4 days and you're decompressing, you don't have your cell phone, but now you're actually you actually hear things that you weren't hearing day 1, day 2, like you're thinking things that you weren't. I always say that it's similar to being on a boat and falling out into the water. When you're in the backcountry, you can't help but be immersed like you would be in the water from the boat that you fall out of. It's just, you're back into a frequency of light, energy, and sound that does something, you know, to your brain. And so when folks start opening up and sharing stories, making fun of each other and the first sergeants, petty officers, of which tons of laughter actually happens, you know, like the amount of endorphins that are released just because folks laugh in a way that I would say that that's actually probably the most prominent and profound thing that I've experienced on all of these trips, and I didn't anticipate it from day one. It was just fucking do hard shit and suffer and all this shit. But the reality is from that comes laughter, and when your brain has kind of been soaked in that for a couple days, and you've got some team leaders who are willing to share and be vulnerable, people open up and stories come out, or feelings come out, or discussions happen. And so being able to make sure that we cap that off, number one, with something ceremonial that we're pretty good at in the military. We're good at doing that. But then also get done with the trip, send them on their way, goodbyes happen, follow up is something that we are working on getting better at, because it is something very important. But one of the neat things that we see frequently is that the groups, the teams that come together, the trips, we'll have a little chat thread or messenger thread, and they all stay in contact with one another and end up having friendships and kind of continuing on. And so making sure that we're communicating still. We just literally got off the phone today with a participant who's having some issues. Bryan's going to be linking up with him in the next couple of weeks to check Monday to check in. And so it's something that we do. It's something we need to get better at. And
You heard it. Yeah.
So.
And then this year we'll be starting and I'm not a huge fan of social media. It's a necessary evil. You don't have to be
a huge fan of it. I was going to say,
but it's a necessary evil, and so we're going to start a Facebook group for all past participants, so we can have some they can kind of help check in on themselves as we're continuing to work on our CRM, right? And so we have a database that this year we're initiating to help with some of that follow-up, so that we make sure that nobody gets lost between the cracks. And what we end up running into, my life, I got lucky, and I got a little bit of inheritance right as I found MVP, so I just quit my job and worked full-time, and I've been doing that for 3 years now, just working 40 hours a week with these guys. And it just, life works out that way, right?
Yeah.
And it's awesome. But we run into a problem when you have a bunch of volunteers that have full-time jobs, and you're taking them on 4 days where they're taking paid leave, and you do that a couple times a year, and now we want them to follow up, and it's like, I'm out of PTO, guys. Like, I can't help anymore. And so we run into a problem of that. Funding. It's just funding. It's just finding the money for it. And I'm not here to ask for money at all, so please don't take that wrong. But trying to find unique.
Are you actively trying to prevent people from giving you guys money?
No.
Or just checking?
Nope, not at all. We're not doing that.
Yeah,
but that's
that either.
I could put a link in the show notes that goes somewhere else.
yeah.
That would help a lot.
Donation to the Green Beret Foundation or something.
But I'm just saying that, like, funding does. So finding unique ways to still do what we know needs to be done is what we're good at.
Yeah.
And so I feel a Facebook group where people can check in on each other. You can share pictures and, hey, I worked out this morning. In some of those group chats, we had the same guy I'm going to meet in a week. He sent us a picture of him doing cold water immersion a few days after a trip. May or may not have been appropriate picture, but he was just showing, hey guys, I'm still doing this, and encouraging everybody else to do it. We had one group chat that the guy said, everybody that gets in, I can't remember how many thousand steps, it was like 40,000 this week or something like that. I'm going to buy you an MKC hat. And then he ended up giving us all MKC hats. He sent us a picture and he's like, numbered them all and said, pick the one you want, and awesome. Sent them all. And so
it's amazing how little things like that can have a huge difference.
Huge difference.
Yeah, sometimes all people need is just a little bit of encouragement. Mm-hmm. Just a little bit of encouragement. And
a little bit of encouragement and the realization, at least for a moment, that they're not alone. Mm-hmm. And that they're not dealing with something that nobody else has, and that they're not the only person dealing with it. I think those are the most insidious things we can. And for clarity, you talk yourself into that. I don't know anybody, because technically you couldn't have somebody else telling you you're alone because they'd be there with you. You know what I'm saying? Let's run the math on this.
Yep.
Yeah, somewhat kind of paradoxical, all of that.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
I mean, I'm my own worst enemy, and I'm sure most people are. And it's one of the things I've learned over time is if I get into that negative self-talk cycle, and this is where talking with counselors has helped me, is tools to interrupt that and reorient that. Otherwise, it's just like, hey, how fast can we go down the toilet bowl? Which isn't awesome. Don't make great decisions down there. Never had a good business idea. Just feeling like crap. Like, I know what I'll do. I'll just start an entrepreneurial venture when I'm feeling so good about myself. Yeah, hard pass. Mm-hmm. What are you guys, looking back now, so both Iraq, for both of you guys, neither of you went to Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on your time in Iraq, looking back now?
Like... Just geopolitically? Like,
I mean,
what do you mean?
It could be geopolitically, but I just mean it was... I mean, I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, when they were talking about it. I was at OIF 1. We hit the #1 chem bio target the first night of the war, which was an agricultural school, by the way.
I was there.
Were you really?
In OIF 1.
Yeah.
And when we got there, there was a family that lived there, and so there was planes that were down that never took off, right? That might have been you that did that. And then they brought us tea and munitions that had unexploded ordnance that hit their roof, and they brought it to us right there in the School of Agriculture. But I was right there.
No, and I remember, so my dad is a Vietnam vet. I remember legitimately arguing with him over the validity. Look, we need to do this. And I'm not going to say, well, I can say, what I'll say is this. I think we had much more altruistic purposes in Afghanistan. I really don't think Iraq had anything to do with it or was thought through. I don't think we thought through the exit of both of those. But yeah, I feel like we did. I also think we could have finished Iraq in about 90 days and then finished it with just a small presence there. Honestly, a couple FOBs, and the ability to remotely strike. Mm-hmm. Iraq, man, I think we're going to go down in the history books, especially the farther it gets away from that and the more we find out is just idiotic.
And I'd say that my views...
Not the action of people taken, the decision to enter into that environment, because that's a very big difference. And I know that through conversations I've had with vets, specifically Iraq veterans, when they hear people say that, they think that the person is in some way degrading their service, and that is not the case,
right?
At all,
right? And that's a hard line. It's a hard line to cross. It's a hard line to cross because when I was over there, I feel very similar.
Yeah.
Hook, line, and sinker. We are fighting for the freedom of our country. I'm making sure that nobody flies a plane into my house. You know, you had this like. I don't know what the grandiose idea was, but I definitely felt like what I was doing was the most important thing anybody on the earth could do. And the further away I get from that, the more guilt can seep in if you let it. But what really was going on over there? You know, why really were we over there? And you start to, you know, go down some of those rabbit holes. And I try to stick with the fact that I was doing what I was ordered to. And when it comes down to unit level, not even battalion level, right? But unit level, the squad I was with, we were just there to make sure that the guy next to us made it through, right? And that's ultimately what you did. No matter what the country would have been, the theater of operation would have been, that's still kind of the same mission as every day was, what can we do?
I would say, going back to the towers getting hit, right? And being motivated, like we just took a bloody nose, and then enlisting and getting to see our country's finest come together, pissed off and ready to move forward and retaliate, I think is one of the greatest things that I've got to be a part of. And the folks who did that, I'll always have such high levels of admiration for it, getting to be in Fallujah and seeing warfighters forget rank, and just every day is you're living on the edge of every moment, just trying to make it through and make sure that your buddies do it as well, was the purest moments of my life. It was exceptional, and I struggle even going back to do a reunion with the Fallujah Marines because they have such a high regard in my mind that if I see them again, I don't think that they'll live up to it. And I feel like that's weird, but they do hold
Makes sense.
They hold a sacred spot in my head. Looking back though on why we went, and like you're saying, I get absolutely pissed off because we carry 7,054 dog tags for no reason I can see. I agree with you in regards to going to Afghanistan. That seems to have made sense. Then weapons of mass destruction started getting talked about, and now we go into Iraq. We have the greatest intelligence gathering agency known to man of all time, and you just get a whoops, oops, they weren't there. I call bullshit on all that. My second deployment there, connecting dots that KBR is owned by Cheney. There's direct money.
He's just a shareholder.
And I'm simple. And that's as simple as it needs to be to me. But
there's a few other lines connecting KBR than just Cheney. It's not like KBR, Cheney.
Yes, fair enough. But in my simple Marine brain, that's how I broke it down.
Guess who ran the chow halls in Afghanistan? KBR.
Yeah. And so at that...
Kellogg, Brown, and Root. Look it up, people. Look up profitability from 1990 to 2001, 2001 to, say, 2011.
Right.
It's going to be, I'm assuming, a little different.
It's hard to say. Hard to say what could have happened during that time period.
Right.
I remember being in Afghanistan being served by people from African countries.
We had the Philippines at our KBR chow hall.
I mean, somebody, I hope, is sleeping really poorly on a really nice bed somewhere.
Just massaging them to sleep.
Fortunately, I mean, maybe you get to a level where it just doesn't matter, and you just watch your compounding interest just crush every day, and then you go buy a boat or something, I guess. Take it to Monaco and gingerly tips. We've come full circle.
Again, I like to do it with aggression.
I'm talking about
if we're talking
boats.
tips. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I was such a different version of myself back then, too. I was so much younger. I think probably so much more idealistic. I'm with you. I mean, I wasn't thinking about geopolitics. I was just like terrified I was going to make a mistake that would cost somebody their life or get somebody injured. My mantra was just don't fuck up, don't fuck up, don't fuck up, which is really good positive self-talk.
It is. It is. It is.
Mine was pretty similar to that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do your job. Do your job. Do your job.
Yeah. This is gonna suck. This is gonna suck.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah. How can people support MVP? I know you're not looking for money, so they'll write you letters.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, actually, we have a giveaway this month. That everybody that becomes a $20 a month monthly donor gets put in for a drawing, and everybody that's been a donor before gets put in for a drawing for a Blackfoot 2.0
from Josh.
Yep. And so, and that has our logo on it too.
Nice.
So it'll have our logo, brand new in the box. And so that's of course a way that people can partner with us. Just sharing with a veteran in your life that we exist, and let them check it out. You can't make that decision for them to come on a trip with us. But if you have somebody that you think matches what we've kind of described as somebody that's isolating, that may have gotten themselves PHAT.
Thank you.
Pat.
I believe that's how my daughter spells it.
Like let them know. Send them our way. MontanaVetProgram.org, MTVetProgram.org. Those are some of the best ways that you can support us. We do VTATs, veteran-led therapeutic venture trips. So all of our volunteers that go on the trips are veterans. All the people that come on our trips are veterans. But the people surrounding that aren't. Mm-hmm. And so we do have people that transport vehicles for us. So when we go into the Bob...
Where do you guys enter the Bob?
Well, it can depend. So we did this.
Is it contiguous all the way? Because the western edge of the Bob is right over here on the east side of Kalispell. Is it contiguous all the way to the western side over by Great Falls?
Yeah, we did a trip this year. We called it XM2. So it wasn't a VTAD. It was a different movement, extra movement 2, where we went from the western side to the eastern side, 80 miles over 8 days with a group.
On foot?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yep. And so that's one way. The main area we enter is at
Our lake.
Yeah, near our lake. And then when we're doing a 4-day trip.
Our lake? Is this like a
Yeah.
actually called that? Or are you guys claiming ownership over some lake?
No. We do have one of those that we do claim.
Yeah, we do
ownership
claim.
of.
Yeah. But it's called
the Beartooth. That's called Caitlin Lake.
Caitlin's
Lake.
Lake.
But yeah,
Caitlin's
this
Lake.
is our lake. Yeah.
But we've done a trip to the Bob where we entered that same. But then we come out of Gibson Reservoir, if you're familiar with where that's at.
Not even remotely.
But it's a 4.5 hour drive just to move vehicles, and so it takes a whole day for our volunteers to come and pick up the vehicles, move them over, and then get back to Great Falls because it's near Augusta, so it's not it's still an hour and a half drive, 2 hour drive to the trailhead. And so we have volunteers around that do that. We have a CrossFit competition that's just down here. Well, actually, it's further. We're not in Missoula. We're in Kalispell. Corvallis, at Corvallis CrossFit. That's in May. And then we also do a fundraiser called Backcountry Immersion. And so it's with, have you heard Laura Zera?
No.
From Naked and Afraid?
Yes.
So Laura Zera.
No, hold on. Alone is the one I was thinking.
Oh, Alone. Yeah, that's one of my favorite Survivor shows is Alone. But
I have no interest in watching nude people try to survive.
So she's been on Naked and Afraid 9 times.
Just so you know, that's disqualifying. Mental issues present themselves in a variety of different ways. Having said that, I'm not a mental health counselor, coach, or knowledgeable in any way. However, no.
So
Wear some clothes.
I agree completely. When she first signed up from the Discovery Channel, they didn't tell her that's what it was. They said it was just a minimalist survival. And so
Yeah, but you know what? Somewhere along the way, they did tell her. And
on
that
the
didn't
boat
stop
when they
her.
said get out and go,
That's not how that works. I've been on a TV show. There's contracts.
that's how she tells the story.
Yeah,
And so,
I tell interesting stories too. Where I fall short of who I want to be sometimes. I'm just joking. I know nothing about
To
this.
Laura, though, she is the toughest female
I'm sure
I
she's
have
amazing.
ever
people
met.
I've ever met.
There's no way they make you get naked in the last moment, though. Let me just tell you, in the society we live in, no.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean,
fair
it
enough,
certainly is a choice. I would actually say that if it's a choice and you're getting naked to go do that, that's probably even harder, right? Like you're going to do that willingly.
Yeah.
To me that's tough as hell.
We should do a link up at the coffee shop if you guys are interested in doing some fundraising. And then every quarter we switch out our roundup for when people check out to round up to a charity. We can throw you guys on for one of the quarters if you want.
Oh, that'd be
That'd
awesome.
be wonderful.
Yeah, I wish you guys
Absolutely.
actually entered the Bob somewhere over here, because then we could either start you guys at the shop, or I could do. I'm trying to think of a cool way we could do something with the helicopter to support you guys.
We're always changing what we're doing and where we're going. I mean, we don't want to do the same route every single time. That gets boring for team leaders, so we're always changing that stuff. And the Montana Pilots Association has actually flown us into landing strips before as well.
So the grass ones.
Well, and as well as like Columbus has an airstrip that they flew us down to last year.
Very cool.
But that would be awesome.
So actually, with the helicopter, with backcountry immersion, we take anybody, and it's just a $3,000 donation. You can come with us, and then we only take 10 people. Yes, we're out there with Laura. Now we're this year. Steve. Yes, she's clothed. Yeah, Stephen Lee Hall Jr.
And Stephen Lee.
Yeah, Stephen Lee Hall Jr. Also from Naked and Afraid.
What the fuck, guys?
It's just the way the universe works, and so those two being able to tell stories of being naked in Alaska and trying to survive for a few days, and it's crazy to be around the fire.
And grizzly, dude, they've got some of the craziest.
They've got crazy stories
where
you
they
don't need to be chased by a lion with your dong flapping around. Like, it's just
No, I agree. I agree.
Human beings have done this before, and they share stories with us about doing it. And believe me, I enjoy getting to listen to their stories. And
well, it's 2 days of classroom time, then 2 days where we take all these participants that have learned with us for 2 days with no tents, no sleeping bags, no food, no water, and we go show them how to forage and do all of that stuff. Part of that is we fly in search and rescue, but this last year they had to walk in because they didn't have access to
a helicopter.
Now
you guys know somebody
and so
else.
they drop in, and then they give a class on what they're looking for when somebody's lost out in the woods, from their perspective, what they're looking for to be able to do that.
A lot of people who are not from Montana, it is amazing to me. And I recommend to people all the time, come see Glacier. I think it rivals Yellowstone.
I agree.
But just because it's a national park doesn't mean that it will not eat your lunch. The number of people who come to Montana to experience the glorious nature of what we have, who are not wearing a jacket, who have no layers, who get up like so far over the top of their skis, and I'm not talking about in the winter season, shocks me. The lack of respect that some people have for nature is shocking to me. The river that feeds Flathead Lake, they are pulling people out of that thing constantly, every year. Like, what did you think was going to happen?
Yep.
So please come, everybody. But holy cow, do some research and prepare yourself.
Layers. Well, layers would be nice.
That is one thing that's cool about the backcountry immersion course that we do teach is it's not only the Naked and Afraid team, but then 3 of us are also wilderness survival instructors, right? We've spent quite a bit of time doing this. We've got SEER guys that come with us, SF medics, and just getting to give the shortcuts. Right, you know this as well as I do when it comes to military training. One of the biggest things is getting people in the same room that are going to give you all the cheat codes so you don't have to go learn yourself. So much of that can happen in the 2 days, and then getting to do the practical experience where we all go suffer together and it sucks, and you get to experience fatigue and cold, and also leadership, and get to see folks do it right alongside of you. There's a lot to be said for the amount of information that you will gain in 96 hours so that in the future, whenever you want to go out into the backcountry in Montana, it won't eat you, because we will go through all the scary stories that do absolutely happen where people just never get found again because, to your point, they disrespected or just didn't have the knowledge to go see something beautiful.
Dude.
But a lot of times beautiful things can bite.
I'll keep the details super broad, but so Two Bear Air is based out of here in Kalispell, and it's free. They can even go into the park as well, too. Very technical. They can do winch. I mean, they work with the sheriff's department search. They're amazing. They're actually switching out helicopters right now, so there is no helicopter that's local. But a young person went into Glacier. They were going to just go and try to get to a high point. It was an unplanned hike, the classic story, right? Like, it never starts out like, well, what I was going to do was just traverse this trail. I was like, no, I just saw something and I wanted to go get up to the top. Found the snow line. This person was wearing, I know for a fact, it was running shoes, and I think it might have been shorts, and like probably very not technical layers. Found the snow line, went up into the snow line, fell, got off trail, augured in feet first, shoes came off, unable to get the shoes back out. Was out in the element for days. Two Bear found him. Pretty sure they lost portions of their limbs.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I'm friends with the person who went down and got them, and his assessment was, had it been a few more hours, it would have been a recovery as opposed to a rescue.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they found it because of the thermal. But, I mean, the guy parked and was just like, oh, yeah, it's going to be a quick one.
Well, and that's one of the things that we learned from search and rescue too, is just how challenging it is to actually go find a human being that is lost. And
without those sensors too, oh my goodness.
Sure, like you just said that you relied on thermal, if I understood that correctly. But if you're just going based off of a person's last location, hopefully you have that information. Trying to find that person, and they could meander 15 miles in some direction that doesn't make sense. For anybody who's going to go into the backcountry and think that search and rescue is just going to come save you, you need to think again, because very, very, very rarely do they save you. Occasionally they find your body, but saving you, you need to do that yourself. And so educating yourself when it comes to living and being in the backcountry of Montana is so important.
Well, and it's happened to so many people that they have stats now. So if it's a 30 to 40-year-old veteran male, they know the software will now show them a route that's most likely that they went based on the terrain that's in front of them. If it's a single female, if it's a family unit, it's happened so many times.
You're still
that they're able to put those
stack
stats
of haystacks.
No,
people
exactly.
Think, oh yeah, just send a helicopter up. Let me tell you what it looks like when you're cruising around at any airspeed over trees.
Yeah.
You could be out there with road flares, and I might miss you.
Right.
Well, and so the Montana Pilots Association works with us on this as well. We do ground to air signaling, right, using the signal mirror. And it was interesting to find out from them. They want to actually send more pilots this year because they only did one aircraft last year. Yeah. The pilot, first time trying it with us this year, said he had no idea where we were at. We had 3 large blue tarps that were out on the ground in an area that you could absolutely see. He had no clue where we were at until we used our signal mirror to hit him.
That'll get your attention for sure.
It'll get your attention. Yeah. But just to your point of how challenging it is to be, 5,000 feet off the deck and trying to find that needle in the haystack.
Well, helis are even lower, so you have a shallower angle of looking at it. You're just like, oh, I think I hear them. They're gone. At least an aircraft might be up there in an orbit. You just like, I think I hear a turbine. Oh. Yeah, we're going to die.
Never mind.
We're going to die now.
Dude, did you experience that? This is one thing I always like to talk about with survival is that moment that you just said that took 13 seconds. In 13 seconds, you just spiked every bit of adrenaline, emotional stamina, anything, this positive feeling just went through the roof. Excited, I'm going to get saved, gone, massive trough afterwards, just burnt up so much energy. Now my life sucks, into the worst feeling you could ever have. That happens in 13 seconds. And now climb yourself out of that, because you still have a long ways to go.
Yeah.
And that's actually the biggest part of what we do, both on veteran trips and the backcountry immersion, is just the mentality of it all. Ends up being one of the things that's going to save your life is your mental well-being, and how are you handling that.
I'm assuming, since you know Josh, you have a good collection of his knives.
This guy has a huge collection of his knives. I have one knife that was donated to us, yes.
These are for you boys.
Oh, goodness.
Really?
What's your favorite color? If you had to choose between OD green and coyote.
I'll go green. Thanks, man.
Don't pull a Dana White
Andy.
and almost cut your finger off as you pull. Have you guys seen that?
No.
I mean, there's a variety of ways to pull a knife out of a sheath. One of the recommended ways is not to have your finger bridging the gap.
The Wargo.
Yeah, I know.
This is the number one on my list that I want that I don't have yet.
There you go.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Pull that sucker out. It might even have the podcast branding etched on that thing.
And
which is, of course, a massive dong.
We have to show people when you go on.
Do not cut your fingers.
Fair.
when you come on backcountry immersion, I show people how to open these because the easiest is putting your thumb on the non-sharp
and
side
push.
and you just push. And so I give everybody a class because you get an MKC knife when you're done with it.
My understanding is that Dana basically grabbed everything at the bottom of the sheath and just went sink, and then went to the hospital.
Andy, I've been like thinking about this knife for.
We both.
There you go. Look at the other side. There you go.
Ooh. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Of course.
And I didn't mean to blow by to talk about backcountry immersion. As you said, the things that you were willing to do to partner with us and help us raise money. I want to be expressly and completely clear my gratitude
That's
for
the least
that.
I can do.
I have a few philosophies in life, but the main one I stick to in situations like this is that the world has us confused that money is an extremely rare thing. It's hard to get. But the truth is they print it every day.
Yeah, you know what's harder to get? More time.
More time. We have no expiration date. We have no idea how long we're going to have. And so when you give time to someone.
I know exactly. I have 12 years, 3 months left. It's going to be a banger, though.
But it's an investment, Andy. It's an investment. And you and both young Michael have invested your time in us, complete strangers that reached out to you through email. I called him right after you responded to my email, and I was like, I didn't know that this was going to happen. Like, it was just a shot in the dark that
Weird, right? Somebody checks their email.
Yeah, somebody checks their email and
Who
responds. And so I thoroughly appreciate that and sharing your platform, but especially sharing your time and investing that. Let's
figure out a way to do something cool out of the coffee shop or base, or at least support. If you guys are going to do the raffle for the knife, we could throw in a bunch of coffee or a gift basket or something like that from the shop. All that stuff's easy, man.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
You just have to promise not to cut your fingers off with those wargoats, because those things. Talk about eating your lunch.
They're wicked. They're wicked. This Josh, you talk about it when you do your ad reads, right?
Mm-hmm. Those are some of the easiest ad reads. They sent me some text. I'm like, get out of here with that. I'm saying what I want to.
Yeah, because it's the easiest one with generational guarantee. They're not factory sharp. They're like almost hand sharpened, like.
What he's building is also amazing. So I flew the heli down and picked those up because the other box is for all the background of the studio. Mm-hmm. And they have a jacket coming out. And he was like, hey, what size are you? I'm like, I'll be there tomorrow. One of those needs to fall off the truck.
Do you have one?
Yes.
Here? Can I touch it?
I don't have it here. You know why? My coffee shop manager has been making fun of me. She keeps saying I look like I'm wearing a sleeping bag. And I'm emotionally...
Is it a cool sleeping bag?
It's amazing. But I was being mocked to my face by my employee, and I couldn't do it.
How old is your employee?
Late 20s.
Yeah, they don't count.
She's the best. Trust me, she's the only reason that shop is still functioning. But it's like after 3 days, I'm just like, I'm going to change it up. I'll just wear a puffy vest. No, that jacket's
the jacket's legit.
Yeah.
And I
comes
even
out on the 20th.
Yeah.
That's all I got, boys. What else do you want to close out with? We've been out for 2.5+ hours.
Excellent. Yeah. I hadn't looked at the time yet, so I appreciate it.
You guys driving back to Great Falls tonight?
Tonight.
Yeah. Well, it's you got a little bit of, you got at least 10 minutes of sun. Probably get to your car.
Well, we were talking about the route back because you can kind of go the Seeley Lake way, or you can go up through Glacier and down
Logan,
back to Great Falls. And the way we came in was Missoula because we have a team leader down there that we met with. And
with the temperatures like they were today, I think you'd be fine going through the park.
And that's what we decided on. Also,
there's no new precipitation, and I think, I don't think the roads are icy right now.
And going through the Seeley, going through Seeley Lake area, there's so much game. At night,
I have almost hit elk going the Logan Pass.
Well, and right here.
Oh my God!
Yep. I've had the same thing too.
Yeah. Maybe these speed limits should be followed. Why is it so low? And then you come around a corner like, that's a huge bull. But that bull's going to win versus my truck. So cool. Well, I'll get you guys out of here. We'll put all the links up and stuff. And like the coffee shop stuff, easy. The roundup and all that's a piece of cake. I just need to know where to direct it.
Yep.
So,
okay. Yeah,
cool.
we can take
all
care
right,
of
boys.
that. Thanks.
That's how you do it.
Andy.
Yeah, man.